There she is. She's walking. Okay, B, good morning. Just do a little sound
Where's the
check.
volume? Yeah. I thought I cranked it up all the way.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
See,
Hi,
it's at
B in
80%.
Syracuse. Hi, Andy in Buffalo, and hi, everybody in Albany.
Okay.
I see Chris. I see,
Let's see if there's
Morris.
anything.
That's Dan Morris? Good morning. Thank you for representing.
We're trying to figure out how to turn up the volume here a little bit.
We can hear you.
All right.
Oh, maybe you can't hear us.
I think because Andy's here, we ought to start with MBBA type business, don't you think?
Yeah, we're gonna go.
You know, in honor of Andy. So let's turn it over to Diana.
Yeah, you
For
go.
me later on.
Okay.
We'll turn it over to Diana to get the show started.
Okay, I note that Morris Peters, representing the Director of the Division of the Budget, and Chris Curtis, representing the
Isn't
Commissioner,
it funny? You can hardly hear him, right, Jeff?
are participating in the meeting via video conference from the New York State Division of Budget Conference Center at the Capitol Building room. Can you hear me? Do I need a mic? Can everybody-
Who's the nearest mic?
Can everyone hear me?
I'm having a difficult time hearing. We're trying to check and see if we somehow can get a louder volume.
That's the closest mic.
Let's move the microphone a little without breaking it. Alex, can you push that microphone a little closer?
Yeah, this one.
This one.
Andy, it's just a bunch of
Okay, that's it.
rigmarole. It's a bunch of lawyerly rigmarole. Thank you. Sorry, no offense.
No offense taken. Okay. let me go back.
We did the top toggle.
Much slack in that.
Let's leave it.
That's right. Okay, we're meeting from the New York State Division of Budget Conference Center at the Capitol Building, room 131 in Albany. Note that Andy Sanfilippo, say it one more time, Sanfilippo is for
Yes.
agency's Buffalo Regional Office at Electric Tower, 535 Washington Street, Suite 105, and that B. Gonzalez is participating from the Syracuse Regional Office, 620 Erie Boulevard, Suite 312. Notice of these locations has been made public, and the public has the right to attend and observe the proceedings from any of these locations. I will ask for motions and seconds to call to order the meetings of MBBA, TSFC, and of their governance committees. Can I have a motion to open the MBBA, TSFC meetings?
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
I will now ask for individual votes from each MBBA TSFC board member. Chairman Adams,
Aye.
Mr. Peters.
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez.
David Gonzalez,
Oh.
Secretary, aye.
Okay.
My fault.
Okay.
I put Rodriguez instead of.
David was here a minute ago.
Okay, they don't say Lopez, so like, you know, I'm used to it. From a Cuban, how could that be? Ms. Miller? Yeah. Mr.
We have to get Jose back there again, Joe.
You here?
Yeah, you say aye.
Say aye.
He might.
Okay, can I have a motion to open the MBBA TSFC governance committees?
Come over.
Second?
David? Sure.
Okay. I will now ask for individual votes from each MBBA TSFC governance committee member.
Aye.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Gonzalez?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
For a motion to open the HFA, HTFC, AHC meetings.
So move.
Second.
I will now ask for individual votes from each HFA, HTFC, AHC board member.
Jose, is that Joe?
Adam
Mr. Peters.
and Mr. Peters, in
Aye.
opening up the MBBA TSFC.
Get him back here. I know, I'm sorry. No, it's no problem. Oh, there's the volume.
Curtis?
Me in Buffalo.
Curtis?
Yeah.
Aye.
Here, okay.
Right. Thank you, President.
Can I read her? She comes in and out.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Ms. Miller?
Aye.
And, oh, now you got it right, Mr. Gonzalez.
No, that's me. That's B.
Miss Gonzalez.
Ms. Gonzalez,
That is Gonzalez.
Aye.
We're with HFA.
okay, okay, this is the, okay, I will,
Okay, but I don't think they can hear me, but go ahead. Okay, thank you.
I now ask for the individual votes from each HFA, HTFC, and HC governance committee member. We'll accept the votes of Chairman Adams and Mr. Peters.
Thank you.
Mr. Curtis?
Aye.
I now ask for individual votes from each HTFC Audit Committee member. We will accept the votes of Chairman Adams, Mr. Curtis, and Mr. Peters.
That's all you need.
Is he coming? Yeah. Okay, he's up.
All right, if you weren't paying attention, now we can start. We'll move the governance committee agenda for MBBA, TSFC, and HFA, AHC. Again, this is governance committee. First item of the governance committee agenda is the approval of the minutes of the last MBBA, TSFC, HFA, and AHC governance committee meetings. Those meetings are found in the committee book. I'll deem this.
Picture's gone. I don't know if they can hear me.
Anybody have comments about the meetings of the governance committee?
I don't think they were in the book.
Not
Oh,
in the book.
what's that? They weren't in there? They're not in the book. In the
It
auditing?
just popped off?
I haven't seen them.
Oh, it just disappeared. Oh.
I'm on that committee, but.
Maybe they were.
Um,
Let me just.
I pressed that thing.
What are we trying to find out?
Here, I see. Alex, I'm looking for it.
I don't know how to get the volume up.
I have no idea either.
We'll have to get to it here.
Thanks, guys.
The minutes in there?
The governance committee. Yeah.
Um,
Audit. Right.
Well,
So,
it's MBBA audit minutes.
so when you look at, no, but we're doing governance. So if you open up the HFA audit and governance book and you scroll down to the governance
Is
agenda.
anybody talking? Because I can't hear anything.
Got it, okay. And then you see them there? Item 1, transmittal letter, and then the minutes, did I not put them in there? 9/12, there they are. HFA governance.
Got it. They weren't just in the HFA one.
They're in the HFA and the audit and governance book.
basically,
Okay.
the minutes from December
November,
12th,
September 12th.
September 9/12/23.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have HFA, SONYMA, AHC, they're all here.
Yeah.
Great. People, again, are pulling them up on your screens. And again, links to these were sent out prior to the meeting today. Hopefully people had a chance to review them, but let me ask again if there are any questions or comments on the minutes, because if not, we'll deem them approved. Hearing none, or hearing no comments, let's do that then. So there's 7 items on the governance committee agenda. Again, if you've got laptops here, the tab function to sort and scroll down to these items. And this is what, 200 pages or 200. So there's 7 items. And for MBBA, TSFC, and HFA, one is a resolution, the MWBE goal
We
plan,
can't hear them and they can't hear.
which also involves
Back again. Okay.
AHC. We're still going to work, Andy, I think, on your sound. Can you hear me a little bit or not?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, we got a little bit of sound.
We got some sound back.
Okay. Well, right now, we're just going through some administrative items we have to talk about today. There's a resolution approving salary ranges for senior officers. This also involves AHC, an authorization to enter into a purchase order written against an OGS contract for SAP support and maintenance services. That item also involves AHC. There's an authorization to amend an information technology security consultant services contract with a firm called SecureWorks. Again, there's material about that's been distributed. An authorization to extend the term of financial advisor services contracts with firms on the agency's pre-qualified panel, including swap advisor services. We talked about our swap strategies at our last meeting. Authorization to extend the term of the contract with BondLink Inc. for website investor relations services. We worked with BondLink for a while. And an authorization to amend and extend certain trustee and depository services agreements. Those are 7 items on the governance committee agenda for MBBA, TSFC, HFA, and as noted, some also actually involve or are connected to AHC. So let's get a presentation now from Carrie Torres on the first of these items, which is the MWBE and SDVOB goal plans for the agencies, right? Is that up first? Yep. Fantastic. Let's see, these 7 items will come up. This is committee, so this will come up again.
Hopefully only once at SONYMA.
It's Sunny Man. Yeah.
So
Carrie's
Carrie's gonna do twice.
just twice. This is like your rehearsal. Because it's the audit committee and the big show.
This is the friendly group.
So what am I? Just HFA,
Yes.
no HTFC.
Oh, no, HTFC, yes.
Everybody.
HFA and HTFC, except SONYMA.
Can I just, sorry, can I ask a quick question?
Of course, Andy.
What are we in audit committee, governance committee? I missed a lot of this, so,
Governance.
This is governance.
okay, did we already do audit or you guys wait, is this first?
We don't have audit items, so we're doing some administrative items right now. We're going to start with Carrie's presentation on the MWBE goal plan.
Okay, and the governance committee?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No, thanks for asking. It's a little confusing. Thanks, Carrie.
Great. Good morning, everyone. So it's been a year in the role, and you see on the front page, we successfully
Congratulations.
changed the name of our department to Empowerment Compliance. I think this expresses internally more of what we're focused on within the department. Go on to the next slide. And the great news is that HFA has continued to stay close to the state goal of 30%. In 22-23, accomplishing 29%. You know that we monitor this across 3 activities: procurement, bond, development activities being the majority of our spend at 97%. And this is where we held steady in the 28% range. There's an incremental decline that has been revealed as projects that 2019-20 during the pandemic have come to completion. And so I think what we're going to see is a reset without the impediments to small business that we saw during the pandemic. In terms of bond related, there is a significant decrease in the spend, but that really is because of the rotation of the panel in general. In the last year, there just wasn't an MWBE used as a senior manager where you see, a higher percentage of the compensation. But the good news is looking forward into this next fiscal year, we've already close to doubled that number, seeing more utilization of MBEs on the panel, on the syndicates. Procurement, this is where we really shine, where we have direct influence over the spending. And we've actually went up to just over 67%, which I think is very impressive. What we have not shared with you on the next slide before is an actual breakout by gender for in the minority and women businesses category. And what we see is that non-minority women-owned businesses claim nearly a third of all MWBE compensation and representing 39% of the certified businesses, the actual number utilize. So there were 389 certified MWBEs utilized in the year. Hispanic-owned businesses closely followed non-minority women-owned businesses by less than 1.6 million%. And you see Black-owned businesses receive 25% of MWBE compensation, while comparatively representing 26% of the businesses utilized. And what's interesting in the analysis is that the disparity exists in number and in dollars spent, right? So while non-minority women-owned businesses are utilized at a higher number in terms of number of contracts, their payments are substantially lower than Black and Hispanic-owned businesses. So the reverse, even though there's a lower number of businesses, they on average have much larger contract sizes, which I believe is what is most impactful when we think of economic development. The next slide just gives a further breakout regarding the women-owned businesses. And even in this category, you still see that non-minority women businesses represent, over 70% of the businesses used, and then closely followed by Black-owned businesses. And still, this number exists. It's just something, for us to pay moving forward. HTFC? Yeah,
I have a quick question.
sure.
How many new certifications do you, newly certified MWBEs every year? Is that number growing?
That's not something that we are
Okay.
monitoring. That's more of an ESD function. I wouldn't be able to give you a number on that, something I could find
To
out.
know how many new companies are starting that are,
Right.
that could potentially come to your.
Well, already with the existing certified companies, there is available that are utilizing.
Wait,
Yes,
say that again, Karen. Are you talking about in the construction area?
in the construction area. Yeah, that's where
There's
we,
lots of, there's no availability. at
there
least
is
downstate.
a lot of
Right, there's
availability.
no availability problems, I'm gonna say, like, there's no scarcity.
There's no scarcity.
So what's the problem?
I believe.
It's complicated.
We'll save our question.
I could give it to you
No,
now.
keep going. No, you're
Okay.
doing great. Keep going and we'll save the question. I
We're
apologize.
warming up. We
Yeah.
can't go to the end yet.
Yeah.
HTFC? Yep, okay. Again, we are surpassing the state goals at 36% for HTFC. And that's a 5% increase from last year's activities. Again, procurement, we went down slightly, and this is just really an incremental observation, right? Quarter by quarter, things can change depending on the agency's priorities and spending. And so there was a significant decrease in one category of spending. And so you just saw lesser utilization, which could change in the next, 2 to 3 quarters, but we're staying steady. In terms of development activities, there was a notable increase. And that, I believe, is because HTFC typically has smaller projects. And so there's just a scape for opportunities for smaller businesses to have more of a significant role than what you see in HFA. The breakout for race and gender. So again, non-minority women-owned businesses receive 40% of all MWBE compensation, representing 55% of the businesses, certified businesses used in that. Black-owned businesses receive 29% of all compensation, representing a smaller amount. And that just goes back to Black and Hispanic-owned businesses, on average, having larger contracts than a non-minority women-owned businesses. And again, something that I want to continue to analyze and for that, but that is the actual disparity. So not that there aren't that non-minority women-owned businesses, don't have a large part of the market. It's just that their rate of payment is significantly lower. And we did the same thing for you, just breaking out something that we have not shared with the board before, but I think it's something that I'll bring consistently. And finally, the core of our outreach efforts are engagement and education. And so this year was a busy year for us. I went out statewide from Buffalo all the way to Long Island to various conferences, workshops, and speaker panels. It doesn't seem like much in terms of a bullet point, but we went from just attending events to most recently being invited to speak at events at the MWB Forum that's hosted in Albany. Our Director of Construction Compliance was recognized as an MWBE champion for her commitment to the work that we do at this agency. I was invited to speak at a panel. So we're more and more being recognized for our consistent and excellent work in this space. We've revised the project size specifications so that it includes language about participation, also includes a QR code to get in touch with our project partners. We're piloting a program to co-host pre-bid for selected prime partners, just so that we can begin to thread the needle on engagement, so that it's actually inclusive. We can follow through all the way to the end, see what's happening there. And then also just, I've spent a lot of time developing closer relationships with the other departments within the agency, and providing more internal training regarding the program and our procedures and how that could be included in their day-to-day business practices. What we're doing moving forward is we are launching a market feasibility study to inform a year-round technical assistance program for established MWBE and SDVOB developers. We are developing another series of Meet the Primes events to actually bring prime contractors and subs in the same room so they get to know one another. We're looking at a supplier diversity management platform that will standardize the search outside of ESD search, so it's more tailored to our needs. And just in general, reevaluating the operating procedures. One of the activities we're doing is entering into escrow agreements earlier on in the project, so that we underscore the agency's commitment to the program from the very beginning. There you go.
All right, let's go back to some questions.
Sure.
Who's got questions? Okay, fine, I do.
Yes.
You know, respect to the outreach and, you know, putting all those miles on the state cover, you know, here and there across the state, all the events, super important. But how do you measure the results of all of that work? You know, there's an old expression, let's not confuse effort for results.
Yes.
So I'm sure you have a way to measure the results of all of that outreach and marketing. And how do you do that?
So that's what we're going into. I am going to be focusing on in my second year here, right? Is really, first it was just getting out there and reintroducing the agency and the department to the field, right? And just introducing myself.
Here's where I'm going here. To what end?
Right.
Like, what do you want to see happen as a result of all that outreach?
What I want to see happen is what we're going to do in this Meet the Primes series, right? Where we actually go out and meet the subs. Capability is and make connections directly to the primes. That's where we have internally the most influence in making those introductions of why the MWB more.
So again, just in terms of reporting to us a year from now, if that's effective, we would see what?
Higher utilization.
Higher, okay, I'm
Higher
and this is a-
utilization, less waiver requests, right?
right, good.
You would see on utilization plans, if we were zooming in, right? What can happen is you have one or two, let's say 1 to 3 scopes of work that are on the utilization plan that get you, they're large contracts that get you to your goal. I would like to see is, 5 to 10 scopes of work connected with MWBE.
Particular project.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think that's an issue. The primes will often say that they can't find anybody.
It's the oldest line
Right,
in the
and so
world.
if you're making those connections and introducing them, that's a great thing.
That's also the reason for hosting the pre-bids on our website, right? So now they have to register into us, and it gives our department an opportunity to follow up and see where the break in communication was, right? Versus relying on the prime to report that back to us. We'll be partners in it and see for ourselves, and then look for the resources maybe that already exist, something that we create to bridge that gap.
Right. So one measure of the success of this outreach is going to be an increase in subs getting work from primes, and that's counted overall when you do your reports, right? You'll see that.
Correct.
But when you do this outreach, no doubt you run into firms that go to an event and they're not even certified. So you refer them to ESD for certification, and we know that could take like ridiculously long.
No, they're caught up. They're apparently called.
Well, that's great. So that,
I heard it
but I-
last week.
well, that's amazing. For the gentleman that was
And I
here,
think he said.
bring him back to report.
No, he said this at the general council's meeting that the governor's council had last week. I participated. I think I might be wrong. I think he said like 90 days. Is that what you can
That would
expect?
be
That would be
miraculous.
lightning.
That would be,
That's
that would be amazing.
They cleaned out their backlog, which I don't know how he
Really?
did it, but they did it.
People
And,
still showing up.
well, I mean, there could be that. There could be that.
Just approving people.
They brought in a.
That's great.
Well, okay. That-
So, may
Harry needs to.
can you hear
provide-
me?
Yes.
I can hear people.
Okay,
So
good.
I had the same question in terms of return on investment that you asked, Ken.
Yeah.
I have another question around, there seem to be some differences in the stats across different sections of the agency. So did you learn anything about how to close the gap from sector to sector within the agency that you could share with us? And then the other is I'm meeting with the new ESD person in this region this afternoon. So if there's a burning question that I need to ask, just send it my way and I'll put it to Dan later today.
When you say sector by sector, what do you mean by that?
I mean, the different arms of the agency, right? Like the different. So, I mean, we have, let me look at my, I'm not looking at my, so the different
Right.
aspects of the work,
Yes.
right? The numbers were different across different aspects of the work.
Yes. I don't think it's a matter of, closing the gap. I don't know if, development activities, right, is ever going to be at the same level of procurement just because of the direct and indirect, nature of the spending. But we are working through each and pulling out and seeing where more opportunity exists and who do we need to connect to externally to fill in that gap. But again, it's incremental. It takes time.
I have a question. Is it fair to say that, so I totally hear you that there's a couple of Black and Hispanic contractors that get big contracts. Is it the same ones all the time? Is there like a core of development?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's really diversifying beyond that, because that's the other thing that we hear is,
Correct.
it's the same guys every time and they're too busy and they can't take my contract. We need to, so I'm really, really excited about the Meet the Primes.
Yes.
And then the other question I have is, do those minority contractors, are they willing to try to bring along some of the smaller subs? Are they being helpful or just getting the contracts and they're?
I can't answer
I don't know that,
to that, but I can say, most small businesses are not hosting a mentoring program.
Well, we our
Um,
incubator that we have, like training minority contract or minority BIPOC developers to be developers. We note there's a camaraderie when they come together, 30 of them for 8 weeks or whatever it is. And then they help each other over time. They're there for each other. So that can be a helpful mechanism as well.
I mean, I agree with you. I see a strong MWBE community. That's what I spent the last year attending. And my, conclusion is that the investment would be better made spending more time with the primes and understanding how we can get them to utilize more MWBEs and specifically minority businesses.
And for the construction spending, Carrie, again, you're saying availability isn't an issue. There are plenty of certified firms in all of the trades
Correct.
that we need for building affordable housing. So it's more about getting the primes to subcontract with them.
Correct.
So is it fair to say, I know we've got to move on, but, and B, thank you for your question. B, I'm going to give you something to talk to them about today. I don't have to remind you that the biggest project in central New York, if not the state, is the Micron project. And having sufficient, ready, certified MWBE firms in central to New York to bend rebar, pour concrete, and do all the other things to build the biggest chip fab the Northeast has ever seen, is a huge, huge, huge opportunity. And I'll just sit here and tell you that I don't think the state's really prepared for it. It's great that what's happening. It's a great ESD project. But I could see a lot of the construction coming from Pennsylvania, a lot of the trades, a lot of people coming from out of state to build Micron. So I think, if you don't mind, if I'm not trying to tell you what to ask this nice person from ESD, but I would walk in there and hit them hard with, what are you doing to ensure availability of qualified, top shelf MWE firms from Central New York to work on the Micron, the biggest procurement you've ever seen up there in Clay.
And ask them to send you.
And that is part of why I'm meeting with him, just to understand the new direction for ESD, as I keep hearing, rumors out there. But the other is, it's not only Micron, it's all of ancillary businesses that are coming because of Micron, right? And they're coming before Micron is up and running. And how are we preparing for that? So yes, I gotcha.
You didn't need to hear it from me, because you were going to ask him anyway, but I'm glad you're meeting with them. Very cool. So again, I just want to summarize a couple things to make sure I got it right, and then you're going to have to do this again with the SONYMA meeting, I think. But the under Article 15A, the governor's goal is 30%, right? And that's a goal, sort of an MWBE goal, across all of the procurement of all of the agencies that report to the second floor, the Article 15A agencies. We're at 29. And that's not 30, but we're at 29, and it's like a slight fall from last year. And you talked about the impact of the pandemic on small businesses and some of the availability. Important to remember that. But we're at 29 because we are largely dependent on white women-owned businesses, right, to hit that number. I would say sort of disproportionately. And that's nobody's fault, but I think we have to acknowledge that. And I think we have to remember that if, to get to, there's two questions which you don't have to answer, but the goal for, like, what's our goal going to be? I could look at the commissioner here, for the new year. I mean, I know this is not I'm talking about accounting, fiscal year, whatever you want to do, but maybe it's a July 1 goal, but is our aspiration in an agency to kind of get from 29 to 30, and just sort of be where we're supposed to be, or to 35 or 32, like, 50. And how much do we stretch? I know that puts you on the spot, so I'll ask your boss. So, what's our goal, and what's our goal within that to elevate basically Black and brown businesses, and not at the expense of white women, but frankly, if that happens, it's not the end of the world, because this really, right? Hello? I'm sorry.
Well, you're kind of surrounded here.
Okay. You're getting this huge chair. You're getting, but no, I seriously, we've got to move the needle on Black and Hispanic. Maybe my personal opinion, but we got to do better on Black and Hispanic business.
Yes. 2 points. One, good points. Over the past 6 years, we have spent over $1 billion, right, on MWB. So that is something to be very proud of.
Right.
Out of all of the agencies over the past 3 years, we've been in the top 4 to 5, right, in terms of spend. And we're doing this indirectly, right? We don't have that much influence over who our partners, So, I mean, we could make a dollar spend goal, right? We can say we've been between 180 and 150 over the past. So we made a goal of hitting 190 to 200 in spend. That would make, a huge difference in intentionality about how we hit the goal.
Yeah. And again, please, Carrie, I'm not putting you on the spot to set the goal, because that's something you do in consultation with your team.
Right.
But my own view as chair would be, we should be ambitious here and stretch and really push and try to do better.
Chair, part of what we're doing is in our conversations with ESD, providing them data and stats about our work, especially in the development world, so we can help inform the disparity study that hopefully will allow us to hyper aggregate the goals. We can't do that now. So if a woman-owned business scores the highest, it's not like we can jump to the MBE. So we're going to work with ESD to provide that data and hopefully make some changes to the
When's the disparity study?
So I think it's not this year, it's 2024.
Right.
A year from now, and it'll take a year.
And we're also looking at our own existing procurements. Carrie has taken the painstaking task of holding ourselves accountable, even though we've had relationships with businesses, say, for 9 years, 5 years. We're looking at all of our contracts to see where we can make changes and do that.
Yeah, and I measure that by who falls off the improvement, right? What type of stuff is.
Right.
removed from exclusion. Right. The exclusion list is huge. Okay.
If I just, I think one thing is if you look at the bond related MWB spend, that was the big drop this year. And Carrie noted that we didn't have an MW to serve as a senior manager. And that already happened. It'll be reflected in the next, and the deal that we just did.
Because it changed to the panel.
Right. Well, no, this is on the underwriters.
Okay.
So I think so that's already happening, and I think you'll see better numbers on the bond related costs when you look at this next year, and that will be a change.
Great. Anybody else have questions or comments for Carrie? I promise not to repeat all this when you come back.
I just think to work with the subs to, it's expanding the market is massively important because you're never going to meet the needs of the microns. You're never going to meet the housing gap shortage if you don't actually expand the overall number of contractors. So figuring out how to requiring more people to enter somehow through our contracting to be bringing, I know they don't have the time for the mentorship, but if we're giving big contracts to a handful of people, they can certainly afford to be supporting us in creating more, because it ends up costing this agency more money when you constrict supply side on the contracting side. There's less competition. And so overall, the state needs more competition in some of this. And I think, empowering MWBE firms is an amazing way to create more competition.
Also getting them certified is the other big thing.
And the certification.
So, we can do that after our incubator program, where we're building the industry from the very bottom up, to try to help the more sophisticated graduates of our program to get that certification so that they can get in line. And that's been a huge barrier. I'm thrilled to hear that they cleared out their backlog because people didn't even want to try. So.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Now, we don't have presentations on the other items, but I should ask committee members if anyone has questions. Again, these are the 7 items on the governance committee agenda, which I reviewed a couple minutes ago. The presentation from Carrie we just completed. So if there aren't questions on the other items, refresher, you can see what they are. Then we can to vote on them as a group, I think, right? Or you?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
So now before the HFA, HTFC, AHC, MBBA, and TSFC Governance Committee are resolutions of the governance committees of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, Housing Trust Fund Corporation, New York State Affordable Housing Corporation, State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, recommending approval of the annual updated consolidated equal opportunity affirmative action 2024-2025 master goal plan. Resolutions of the governance committee of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, Housing Trust Fund Corporation, New York State Affordable Housing Corporation, State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, recommending approval of the annual updated and consolidated service disabled veteran-owned business program action 2024 master goal plan. Assuming the first and second previously entered for all the committees, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
The next one was a resolution approving salary ranges for senior officers. Diana, do we have that?
Yes, now before HFA, HHC, MBBA, and TSFC, these are a resolution of the governance committees of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, New York State Affordable Housing Corporation, State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, adopting salary ranges for senior officers. Assuming the first and second previously entered for all the committees, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Terrific. The next is an authorization to enter into a purchase order written against an OGS contract for SAP support and maintenance services.
Now before the HFA, AHC, MBBA, and TSFC committees are the resolution of the governance committees of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, New York State Affordable Housing Corporation, Bank Agency, and Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, approving a purchase order contracting for SAP support and maintenance services. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the committees, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 So carried and the resolutions adopted.
The next is an authorization to amend information technology security consultant services contract with Secure Works, Inc.
Now before HFA, AHC, MBBA, and TSFC committees are a resolution of the governance committees of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, New York State Affordable Housing Corporation, State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, approving the continued retention of an information technology security services contract with Secure Works, Inc. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the committees, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Carrying the resolution adopted.
And let's look next at an authorization to extend the term of the financial advisor services contract with firms on the agency's pre-qualified panel, including swap advisor contracts.
Now before the HFA, MBBA, and TSF, New York State Housing Finance Agency, State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, approving the continued retention of financial advisory and swap advisory contract services. Assuming the first and second previously entered for these committees, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 The motions are carried, the resolution adopted.
Let's keep going. Authorization to extend the term of the contract with BondLink, Inc. for website investor relations services.
Now before HFA, MBBA, and TSFC committees are a resolution of the governance committees of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, authorizing the continued retention of BondLink, Inc. for software services contract. Assuming the first and second previously entered for these committees, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
An authorization to amend and extend certain trustee and depository services agreements.
Now before the HFA, MBBA, and TSFC committees are a resolution of the governance committees, State Housing Finance Agency, State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, authorizing contracts with banks for the provision of trustee services and depository services. Assuming the first and second previously entered for these committees, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
All right, so we've taken care of those 7 items. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Diana. The next item in the Governance Committee agenda this morning involves only HFA. It's an authorization to extend the multifamily computational advisory services contract with Kane Mitter and Associates Incorporated.
Now before the HFA Governance Committee is a resolution of the Governance Committee of the New York State Housing Finance Agency authorizing the continued retention of Kane, Mitter, and Associates Incorporated for multifamily computational services. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
The next 3 items on the Governance Committee agenda this morning are informational items. We have an annual review of the contract with Digital Assurance Certification LLC, or DAC, to serve as a dissemination agent to provide compliance disclosure services. We have number 2, a report on salary adjustments for our management confidential colleagues. Number 3, the ethics report.
I just want to point out on the ethics report, which annually gets provided to the board as an information item, we were contacted by the authority's budget office, the watchdogs, and they looked at the report, surprised me, and they noted that a number of the long-term board members had done their educational session.
The ethics training.
Well, like you did it in 2012, I mean, a while ago, and
And you're saying I'm out of
Yes.
compliance?
so they
Put you
were.
back here.
An example you could say.
They wanted us to remind the board members that they need to have, a number of you need refreshers. So what we want to propose is Maureen Cunningham, who's our ethics officer. What, you leaving already?
No, I'm gonna look for it.
Maureen Cunningham, who's our ethics officer. Maureen's here. Maureen, you want to say hello? So Maureen will will email the board members that need the refresher. And she will register. You guys, you can do this now online, and it's very quick. And we'll get that done. There are a number of the long-term board members that just need the refresher. Okay? Ken, what do you got?
I have it tomorrow.
Really?
That's what I was looking up
Oh, really?
through CUNY. It's the same training.
Yes.
Does it count for this?
Yes, it counts for all.
It's
Yeah.
2 hours. Comprehensive ethics training course. Zoom link at club. Wait, this you can do it on Zoom now?
Yes.
have to be in person.
Yes,
Look.
Is there a test? at the
good,
end?
There's a
good.
test at the end. Of course there's a
Good,
test. It's
good.
hard. You
You'll
have to
pass.
pay attention.
You'll pass.
I have it tomorrow. I just want everybody to
They gave us all slides.
Because in my CUNY capacity, we're subject to the same, CUNY and SUNY are subject to the same.
Can you
All
take
right.
the test multiple times to pass?
No, and I used to pay a student to take it for me.
No, you,
Oh, no.
All right.
if
so-
you haven't taken it since 2012,
I-
into the ABO.
The ABO doesn't check the CUNY, they need to check the CUNY
That could
record.
be. That
All
could
right,
be.
I'm taking, and I wanted to mention, I'm glad you brought it up because seriously, as your chair, and now that I'm setting a good example, or I'd like to think I am. This,
You pass.
I went through the PowerPoint and, you know, because the board materials that you distributed
Included.
for today, the entire PowerPoint that comes from what we used to call JCO, now it's got a new name, slide by slide is there. And that in itself is a good refresher, especially, I'll remind you, Commissioner, everybody here, in the holiday season, when you get the fruit basket, don't keep it yourself, right? You know, give it to everybody else. So at this time of year, people get invited to parties, they're invited, hey.
Does
have a
CPC
dinner.
still give the party their holiday party? That used to be.
So it's always good, especially this time of year, to do the little, and
That used to be-
everybody should look at the PowerPoint that we distribute. I want to thank you and the team for distributing the PowerPoint. It's a very good thing for all of our directors to see the PowerPoint and then, of course, take the required training.
Okay. Nope,
So
MBBA now.
Ethics report. There you go. We're going to go to MBBA and TSFC items. The first, the minutes of the last meeting, they'll be deemed approved, absent comments from directors like Andy. If anyone has questions or comments about the minutes, they're there in the materials. The next three items are informational items for both MBBA and TSFC, as well as for HFA, AHC, and we can take them up together. Diana, and we just, the current agency procurements in the lobbying law restricted period. Again, there's a list of those procurements in the materials that you need to be aware of. The board self-evaluation and the ethics report again. The ethics report has been given to all of our committees and all of our boards today. Then the next item on the agenda involves only MBBA and TSFC. It's a resolution appointing a senior vice president and chief financial officer. This isn't important. Ruth, Ann, you gonna help with this?
Yes, we have done this. Some of you, I apologize for the repeat performance, but we have to appoint Ted each entity of ours.
This is the third time.
So,
This is where Andy gets to interview the guy.
yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Are we on the audit committee now, or is this the board meeting?
This is the board
This
meeting,
is the
Andy.
real show.
Okay, all right.
MBBA,
Thank you.
TSFC, and you get to interrogate a candidate for our CFO, right?
Yes,
Interrogate is not really the word I would use.
he's ready.
It's not the tone I try to set in the board meeting. But I am delighted to recommend the appointment of Ted Podest as the agency Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. We have presented this to other boards and other meetings. This is the first time where we've hired a CFO responsible across the entire agency, the public authorities, including MBBA, TSFC, HTFC, and DHGR. We are thrilled to still have our leadership team in place for those entities, which include Daryl and Stacy and Megan, who many of you have met as they have presented items to the board, and they will still lead those sub-teams on the finance. Ted's resume was included in the materials, so I hope that you see how excited we are that he is coming to HGR after a very impressive career in the private sector, where he's combined his financial acumen along with his understanding of technology. He's worked on the business side and the technology side of large financial institutions, most recently at Wells Fargo as the CFO of Wealth Management Technology, previously at JP Morgan Chase, where he was the managing director of technology and a COO. He's also worked at the New York Stock Exchange, Goldman Sachs, Credit Suisse, and Citigroup. In just the few months that he's been here, he's already proven to be deeply committed to both learning our mission, learning our business, understanding how we work, and we are really thrilled to have him. As such, and in accordance with the policies and procedures governing review and determination of employee compensation, I am recommending that Mr. Podest be appointed as Senior Vice President with a salary of $190,000. And if you would like to ask Ted any questions, he is available.
Far from an interrogation.
Yes.
Where is Ted? Ted's here. Ted, why don't you come and join us for a second? So Andy, meet Ted.
They look alike.
Doesn't have glasses.
Strike that from the minutes.
That's.
Remind me of the kids to keep my testimony. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, I know some board members have already seen this before, but Andy and
B, I think you met Ted in an earlier meeting, did you not? Yeah.
See the head.
Any questions for Ted? You know, what's his favorite color, Mets, Yankees, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Bill.
Giants.
Giants.
How he feels about the Bills. That's actually the most important question.
Yeah,
I would
my
ask,
son
what's
went
the
to,
biggest thing that surprised him about coming to the agency?
the acronym.
Overwhelming conversation.
The high quality of the staff.
High quality of the staff and the acronyms.
It's the board chair.
Hear from me. Sure.
I mean, the only questions I would have to ask is that on the resume, there was jobs that he only took for like 6 months, or he went from October 2011 to March of 2012, April of 2012 to July of 2012. I was just curious as to what the reasons were that you just stay with some of these organizations for only a brief time.
Great question. I consulted at the New York Stock Exchange, Goldman, and a portion of JP Morgan Chase. So I was an independent consultant at those times.
Was that for all those opportunities or positions?
Those three, yes.
Okay.
Question.
So I want to hear more about the football.
Oh, so my son went to high school with Tommy DeVito, the New York Giant quarterback.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Did you have any of the chicken cutlets?
yeah, my son didn't get the chicken cutlets. My son played lacrosse where Tommy played football, but they're friendly. So I could get you some chicken cutlets.
It's okay. I have no other questions.
Great. Okay. I think,
Thank you for
Diana?
coming.
Oh, thanks.
Diana, I think you can move
Yes,
for the.
now before MBBA and TSFC board is a resolution of the State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency and the Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation appointing Ted Podest as Senior Vice President, Chief Financial Officer. Assuming the first and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
MBBA, right at the beginning.
Okay, so the next item, well,
I can play party can. Yep, the next item involves MBBA, TSFC, HFA, AHC, and HTFC.
right,
It's a resolution approving the Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprise Annual Goal Plan for fiscal year 2024-2025 and approving Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Business Program Annual Plan for fiscal year 2024-2025. This item was just presented before the Governance Committee.
and so do I need to do this?
Yeah, I would just do the it's just, I wouldn't read the resolutions as a whole. I would just say.
Okay, now before the HFC are the HFA, HFC, HC, MBBA, and TSFC boards are the resolutions previously described by the commissioner. Assuming the first and second previously entered for all the boards, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Great. Okay. The next item involves MBBA, TSFC, HFA, AHC, and HTFC. And it's a resolution authorizing legal services agreements with firms on the agency's newly established pre-qualified panel of law firms for legal matters other than those pertaining to municipal finance transactions. And Diana is going to present.
Okay, this truly a labor of love on this, but let me just kind of go through and give you some overview and I can get into some of the details. So I've been with the agency now about a year and it was early on, we had some needs to look to outside counsel. And although our bond counsel panel had been refreshed very recently, it was very crisp, the non-bond counsel panel, because we don't really use non-bond counsel that often, had gotten stale. And it was one of the things that I really with the tremendous assistance of Alex and Lisa Pagnozzi, said, look, we just got to do this. It was over 10 years old. And again, what happens on those is that, we set, as you'll see here, we set, what the fees are going to be. And we get, because we're a government agency, we ask for, very favorable rates, which firms are very willing to provide. But, really after 10 years, they're really quite stale, and it makes it very awkward. And also, it's just good for us as an agency to be out there in the market. So we launched this on March 16th. We issued an RFP to establish a new pre-qualified panel of outside law firms. And again, part of what we did in this exercise, with a lot of assistance from Alex here, was just to really think very carefully about what kinds of matters we could see. And so we here in the memo, we identified 16 areas where we believed on sort of non-bond matters where we may be needing side assistance. And these are what you would expect: real estate, housing, Section 8, land use and zoning, foreclosure, co-op condominium was really important to get that in there. Some of the obvious ones: labor, MWB, SDVOB law. We found people that had expertise in this areas, which is, you just never know, something could come up, we need to rely on them. Environmental sustainability. I mean, in 10 years, that area has just grown by leaps and bounds, not just you think on the business side where people are doing these projects, but also the legal side where you need to support those activities. Insurance, you always want to be, very current there. Governance, advertising, immigration, not so much. Information technology law. I mean, think of what's happened in 10 years in IT. So it was really, terrific. Anyway, so just to look at, so we did that. In terms of the outreach, we were really, and again, with Harry's and her group's help, really wanted to make sure we did the broadest reach possible in terms of letting people know we had this RFP out there. Because once you set that panel, hopefully we're going to do it again unless, we're not going to wait 10 years to redo it, but it's going to be there for about 5 years is what we're asking. So we wanted to make sure that we had, let everybody know and give them a chance to participate. In the memo, you'll sort of see, the breadth of what the engagement was to find interested parties. There were the typical kinds of advertisements in publications: the New York State Contract Reporter, the Law Journal, the National Association of Security Professionals, the City Bar, the State Bar. We specifically emailed to the existing firms on our non-bond counsel panel, both majority firms and MWBE firms. And here you also sort of see, we list in the memo on the second page what kind of specific efforts we made to engage MWB and SDVOB participation in this. And, you can sort of see extensive efforts that we made there. So the good news, so we issued the RFP on March 16th. Responses were due on April 28th, and we got 29 responses, which I think was a really healthy, broad-based response. New entrants to the market, people we hadn't seen before, both large and small. Just a summary here of what we provided in the memo: 12 of the 29, 12 were majority firms and 17 were MWBEs. Of the 17 MWBEs, 2 were from MWBEs, 8 from MBEs, and 7 were WBEs. Okay, 29. Okay, these were not like, 29 pieces of paper. It was like pretty hefty. So all these proposals have a file cabinet in my office. And I know we formed a committee that was going to, before we got the proposals in, we formed a committee that was going to review these. I was on the committee, as was Alex. We had a supervising attorney, somebody from our Albany office. We had Vice President of Intergovernmental Affairs, Vice President Treasurer, want to have a business person here. And we also had a representative from our Department of Employment, Compliance, and Opportunity. Each member was charged with reviewing all the materials. And in the memo, we identify what areas that we wanted people to sort of focus on in their review, what you would expect: competence, knowledge, technical expertise, and capacity of attorneys, experience and ability of the law firm to provide the legal services, cost of providing legal services, and overall organization, completeness, and quality proposals. The DECO committee member was charged with reviewing and evaluating the proposals for diversity and commitment to equal employment opportunity programs, together with the firm's status as NWBE and SDVOB. We had our first organizational meeting, our kickoff meeting on May 15th. And at that meeting, people were expected to have read all 29 proposals. Having been at every committee meeting and read all this stuff, I can tell you that this is a very fully engaged committee. And it's not really like a lot of fun reading all these law firm a cool project, someone who built something. So, but they were fully engaged. So we met on the 15th, and what we tried to do, and again, also on June 12th and July 9th, and we try not to do all the proposals at the same time because it was too tedious. We kind of think of it in third. And what we wanted to come up with is, who do we want to interview? Who do we think, presented a proposal compelling such that we wanted to interview? And we were expansive on that. And of the 29, we agreed that 17 firms, 17 of the responses merited bringing them in. They stood out, and that these were, we wanted to bring them in to interview these 17 firms. And we did that, 17 interviews, interviewing 17 lawyers. Who would sign up for that? I can tell you they look, it's really helpful to do that, because then you kind of get a flavor for, and again, having Alex and vouch for this, and both of us, we read every proposal. We had questions for each firm to make sure that their presentation meshed with, what was in their proposal. And the committee then met on August 9th to discuss our impressions of the interviews. And then we had to complete scorecards for this. Independently, everyone kind of sat down and thought about, looking at the proposal and the presentation, how the presenters answer their questions. Like, I'm sure they got a lot of questions like me. You're collecting for us. How much did you collect? Oh, that's nice. How much did you cost us? How much we paid to collect that amount of money? It was interesting to sort of get some of these responses. Once our procurement staff analyzed the scoring cards, here in the memo, we list the 17 firms that were selected to be added to the newly established non-bond counsel pre-qualified panel. And just as an overview here, 10 of the 17 firms that are proposed to be on this new panel are MBEs and WBEs. 6 are MBEs, 4 are WBEs. Of the 7 new additional additions to the panel, 5 are MWBEs, 3 of which are MBEs, and 2 are WBEs. What I want everyone, there's like a lot of words here, but what I want you to take away from this process, which was lengthy and tedious, is that I think it gave a chance for everyone to really think through what our needs are going forward. And because the nature of the work that we're doing, although it's principally the same, there are new areas. And we did get new market entrants. We tried to be very intentional in terms of making sure that the firms weren't just based in the New York area, because our projects are statewide. So we got some new entrants to the market that were in other locations. Let's see, we are, the memo sets forth whether the 17 firms, and we identify which are the new firms. So we have here identified. What we're asking is authorization to enter into contract with law firms for this panel, a pre-qualified panel of non-bond counsel firms, as needed basis for a 5-year period. And during the upcoming year and each subsequent year, staff will continue to evaluate the performance of each law firm and continually give consideration to whether further use of each law firm services and continuation agreement is desirable. I can tell you that the 2 firms that we've brought on to help on some of our affordable housing projects, I have been very actively involved with the lawyers on that to make sure that we're getting good value for the work that they're doing for us, and monitor that very closely. And sometimes things don't always work well, but it's important to get feedback, and we like this that you're doing, but we want you to do something else or whatever it is. So I think that that's really how I feel we've gotten very good value on our firms. And I really look forward to putting this new bond counsel on, new non-bond counsel panel in place because I think it will serve the agency well. And I welcome any questions that anyone might have on this, non-sexy, glorious work. It's kind of fundamental.
I just have a question, basic question. Did all the firms comply with the RFP deadline of April 28th, 2023, even though the book says 2028?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Because I was going to suggest, if they didn't comply with that, if not, did they end up getting nominated? But if they all complied, then I don't have any questions.
I think, Andy, what you're maybe the other part of this is, why do we have 17 firms on a non-bond counsel panel? I think one of the things that was, again, my initial reaction is, why do we need 17 firms? Well, you'll find that if you look at the areas that we, in the beginning, when I identified the areas that we, of expertise that we need, I'll just mention one firm here, obvious. Anderson Kill is well-known in insurance. They were fabulous. If we have an insurance question, that's who you'd want to go to. But they're not the same person that you want to do if you have a labor matter. Again, depending on whether you have a labor or litigation matter, you may want to use a larger firm or a smaller firm. So we have that flexibility here, which is why, we have, it looks like we have so many firms. We also would need to have some redundancy in terms of expertise if there's a matter that's kind of upstate, sort of the Albany, Rochester, Buffalo area. We don't want to have just sort of focus on New York City firms. So it, once we had done the analysis here, we kind of need to have like a broad-based panel here. So 17.
Oh, no, you know what? I certainly acknowledge the extensive due diligence that all the panel put into evaluating the RFPs and then and their expertise. So no, I just wanted to make sure that in compliance with the RFP procedures, that there weren't bids that didn't comply with the due date that ultimately end up getting nominated or presented to us.
No, Lisa.
I certainly don't have any questions as the challenges that the committees had in order to draw the conclusions to make these recommendations. I certainly add my gratitude to the quality of work that was done in order to end up with this list.
Thank you, Andy. That's nice kind of comment.
Lisa Pagnosi, our procurement, makes sure that we follow the rules.
Yeah, that's all.
The
I
17
want to put Alex in a difficult spot to try to explain why the rules weren't followed.
We always follow the rules, Andy. Trust
That's
us.
the easy part.
Yeah.
Of the 17.
Sometimes they didn't.
Of the 17 firms that are on the panel, given what you said, they have particular areas of expertise. But I assume that there may be firms that duplicate the expertise and that you could go to more than one firm with a particular question. So how would you then decide which firm? Is it a rotation basis or?
First of all, I just want everyone to understand, we don't really use this panel that much. We really don't use the panel that much.
Hello.
Okay, that's
Not bond counsel.
right. This is not bond counsel. We don't use them that much. There are some firms that that the governor's office of storm recovery used on various kind of collection matters, more that were really like kind of new entrants. So they appeared here, and we really want. And I didn't know them, but they did very well in the interview process. They did great presentations, so they've now become part of this. And you really don't want to sort of change course at this point on some of those things. There isn't, I think if you look at kind of like corporate or litigation, yeah, there's some overlap, but within those, you have to really kind of drill down, Joyce, and find that, there are firms here that do corporate matters, but in fact, when I was looking for corporate real estate, I was really looking for real estate financing, construction finance. So there isn't as much overlap as you would think, but I'm very happy that we have some sort of new entrants here, and I'd like to, not to have all my work done in place. So,
And I just wanted to add to that one of the things that we will do is, as matters come up, there'll be a recommendation made to the council. If, in your example, if there's 2 or 3 firms that could do it, the lawyer in-house who's involved will make a recommendation as to why one of these three firms should be used and provide the rationale. And then, Diana will either approve it or say no, to prevent, I think what you're getting at is if you have three or four, how do you pick them? You're not going to do a new RFP. So that's the procedure that's going to be in place.
We got to move on.
Yes,
If that's okay.
one other question though. Given that it's a 5-year contract, I assume that there's some provision here for increasing fees over a 5-year period.
They're just on the panel.
So,
The panel doesn't set fees, right?
The contract.
We accepted the fees.
Right.
oh, okay.
It's a
That's
discount fee.
basically the question.
I think the onus is on us, which is what I was so eager to do this, is because they had agreed to these fees like over 10 years ago. We're just so out of market.
Updated. Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
And, you want to incentivize them to do a good job.
But you're right. By year 5, they may be complaining, but they
Right.
don't have to take the work.
Right.
Well, inflation's going down.
That's why you have a
so-
big panel, because it could be
Inflation is going down.
from your lips.
Okay. So
Very good. Well, thank you very much for a thorough review of this procurement and for recognizing Lisa's good work to get it all ready and explaining the importance of it, Diana. So, why don't you do the resolution?
we'll do the resolution.
Yeah.
Now before HFA, HTFC, AHC, MBBA, and TSFC boards, a resolution of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, New York State Affordable Housing Corporation, Housing Trust Fund Corporation, State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, authorizing contract with law firms on the agency's newly established pre-qualified non-bond counsel panel. Assuming the first and second previously entered for all the boards. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The motions are carried, the resolutions adopted.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everybody. There being no further business for the MBBA and TSFC boards this morning, Diana will now ask for motions and seconds to adjourn the MBBA and TSFC meetings. Diana?
Assuming the first and second previously entered for the MBBA and TSFC boards and governance committee, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motions are carried, the meetings are adjourned.
So we just have one final question for Andy. Andy, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
I think you host Dallas at 4:00 on Sunday.
Yes, we do.
You willing to make any predictions on a Thursday morning? It's a big game, my friend.
I think it's going to be a close game, but I hope we win. But more importantly, we need the Jets to knock off the Dolphins. So if they could do that, that would be very nice.
Good luck with that. Good luck with
That's
that.
not going to happen.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
The latter is not likely to happen. The former, I'm with you against.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It's a home game. The weather's going to be about 50 degrees, so it's not going to be bad weather for the Cowboys that come to Buffalo to play. So
All right.
hoping against hope, but I'm not really confident.
All right. Well, we'll be paying attention Sunday afternoon. Good luck, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Right.
All right. Next item on the agenda is an information item. This is for HFA, and later it will be taken up by SONYMA. So we'll do a twofer here, and it's a report on a really interesting organization that does great work with young people in the city, the Youth Construct Funds. This caught my eye.
I bet it did. Well, it's got a lot of nexus to our last.
It has a lot of exact.
First, we have to approve the minutes, don't we?
I thought we did that already.
We did it.
Oh, we did it?
As a package at the very beginning.
Yeah, I have a question of it now.
You missed that.
Lloyd.
No, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Go ahead, raise it.
You ready?
Yeah, you can jump in.
Oh, okay. So we're excited that we want to use our technical assistant, we want to access our technical assistance fund to contribute $150,000 to Youth Construct, which is a nonprofit organization based in Harlem. And they're a vocational like workforce training program specifically for the ACE field, architecture, construction, engineering, and development. The org started during the pandemic as a response to a low rate of young adults either enrolled in school or having employment. And so they went from a program of 3 to a cohort of 30 out of over 100 applications citywide. They work specifically with kids still enrolled in high school that have a chance to apply for college. And they are partners with CPC, Turner Construction, ACOM. And so they, after this in-house training, then they are placed in paid internships with, large construction companies. And so the contribution will specifically fund the stipends for the students, right? And they're going to be able to raise, that stipend was at $1,000 and now they'll be able to provide $2,500.
For how many students?
30.
It's a great program.
It's a great program.
Very good.
Any questions?
Are the placements, Carrie, are mostly, you said ACOM, Turner, the big firms. Do you think they get kind of hands-on experience? Are they in an office like this or are they out in the field?
It's a combination of both, right? So you have actual people in the construction industry with their own general contractor businesses that are designing the programming. And so they start out and they gain some professional skills and then they go out into the field hard hat and onto site. So they get a bit of both. What I'm interested to see is the follow-up on what the students do after they've completed the program. Some have gone on to get architectural interns outside of the country. In Germany, they've gone on to, enroll in college. And so just really improving their post-high school outcomes.
Great. Great program.
Yeah.
The only question is, this is for 2 years, right?
Yes.
Do you think it makes sense? I mean, look at the applications doubled from 1 year to the next. Should you do this for 1 year and come back in case this program's really successful? Like, we want to stifle it by committing for only, I mean, it just seems like this thing has gone from 3 to 46 to 95 and our funding level just stays at 30 students basically. And I don't know if that's it's such a drop in the bucket for considering what it probably provides in terms of opportunity. I just want to be flexible to grow with the program.
We thought because it was a small and new organization that we
Okay.
put some guardrails
Fair enough.
around the contribution. I certainly would love to continue supporting them. So they give us a mid-term, impact report and show us that they actually are spending this according to, our intention. Then we can, rediscuss making another contribution.
Right. I think that's a good way to do it. Carrie, don't feel like you have to wait a year to ask for our support again,
Okay.
right? Up to the commissioner, but if you think it's warrants coming back for another infusion 6 months from now because it's going really well or for next fall or whatever.
I appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you.
Anything else? Diana?
Okay.
No, you're up.
Oh, so we gotta make this official. That was just because that
Information.
it didn't require a vote.
Correct.
Thanks, Gary. Next item is HFA, resolution authorizing a contract with PruTech Solutions for an information technology solution, the housing lottery and waitlist system, which Betsy is going to present. And this will be a SONYMA item as well.
HFA.
Only HFA, okay. That's when Dan said, come on, move it along. There's a lot left there. Oh, there's this. Oh, here's this. Oh,
We can move this down.
Everybody but Betsy will
Yeah.
come to this.
Are you doing this, Stuart? Not there. All right.
No.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm here today to request authorization to enter into a contract with PruTech Solutions for a housing lottery and a solution. The solution that we are looking to develop is to replace an outmoded system that has very limited functionality and only provides for the ability to list available units with a much more robust system that allows owners to post detailed listings on the website. It allows the public to view these listings and to apply for housing directly through the site. It conducts a lottery that is with the ability for the agency to monitor the lottery proceedings and also maintains a wait list for each property throughout their portfolio, including for our Mitchell-Lama portfolio, which currently maintains a wait list through a separate, very outmoded system, and also creates a customer call center that is located within New York State and is compliant with New York State law that will provide robust support to the owners, the public, as well as to HCR staff in using it. To give just some background about how the procurement came about, the agency issued a request for proposals in November of last year to seek a solution for housing lottery and waitlist system. The RFP was posted on the agency's website, and notices of the RFP were advertised in the New York State Contract Reporter, emailed to 35 majority firms, and also emailed to over 4,500 contacts listed on the GSA's IT service providers list. And in addition, staff also sought to increase MWBE and SDVOB participation through a variety of outreach methods. The RFP responses were due in January. The agency received responses from 11 firms in total, 7 of which were majority, 2 MBE, 1 WBE, and 1 MWBE. The agency put together a review committee that was comprised of TS. Each committee member was charged with evaluating and reviewing the content of the written proposals based on experience and capacity, functional, non-functional, and service requirements and costs. Proposals were also evaluated for diversity and commitment to equal employment opportunity. The committee evaluated all 11 proposals that were received, but eliminated 2 that were incomplete and did not meet the RFP's minimum requirements. Of the remaining 9, all of them were invited to present demonstrations to the committee, and the 3 highest scoring proposals were interviewed. After analysis of the scoring cards by our procurement staff, PruTech, which is an MWBE firm, was selected as the tentative awardee, subject to board approval today, also subject to mutual agreement to the terms and conditions of the contract and a successful negotiation of costs. PruTech has a large, experienced, and diverse team to implement the solution in a projected short time frame of 12 months. The PruTech solution includes the Salesforce platform. It meets all the solution's functional, non-functional, and service requirements, and also includes all the required features for the solution that are easily customizable should they need to be modified in the future. The committee and PruTech have met several times and have mutually agreed upon the terms of the Master Services Agreement, the Statement of Work, and the Service Level Agreement. And simultaneously, the agency has met several times with PruTech to reduce costs. PruTech has agreed to reduce their implementation costs by 12% from their initial proposal to what is now a figure of $18.4 million for a 10-year period. There is also, in this is included contingency for implementation. Then in summary, we're requesting today authorization to enter into a contract with PruTech for a housing lottery and waitlist system for a 5-year term with optional renewals up to a 10-year period in an amount not to exceed $10,844,838.67 for the initial 5-year period. Questions?
Great, thank you. Just to note, for directors might not have been here, but in November, we did have an executive session and a number of students know about this project and asked a series of questions. And so I just want people to know this is not the first time most of us have considered this significant procurement. Can you talk a little bit about it's PruTech on a Salesforce platform, right? And so talk about the Salesforce part of this. I don't understand.
Sure.
I think James might have a fault.
So PruTech is the implementer. So they're just providing the services. The solution is being built on the Salesforce platform. Salesforce historically is a CRM or customer relationship management platform, but has really expanded over the years into being really more of a general platform for development. And one of the features that they have, or one of the modules that they have, is a public sector module, which has a lot of functionality that meets our needs and meets the needs of the public sector generally. And so we feel it's a good platform for this and for future expansion and functionality for the agency.
Is the New York City PruTech project, I guess through HPD or whoever, is that also built on Salesforce?
That is actually not built on Salesforce, but built by PruTech.
Oh, okay, the whole thing, right?
Yes.
Oh, got it.
So I guess that's the question is like, and I had sort of time you had to sort of answer this. I guess the question is, because it is, as Tim pointed out, sort of, it is a shift, and we talked about this, like from a culture perspective to be like, we're going to be adopting a Salesforce culture inside the agency, right? And that is, you know, because, you know, significant portions of the overtime budget on this are actually the Salesforce components. Is that right? Like the 970 and the 769 and the 3 foot. So about $2 million a year is sales, right?
No, those are services.
Which is the Salesforce is the licensing.
Salesforce is just the licensing.
Okay, so it's about $1 million a year basically to be doing. I just think it would, if more of the agency began to use Salesforce, that number would have to grow tremendously. So this is like perhaps also a good opportunity to like look at how the agency embraces Salesforce as we talked about. So I guess the question is though, from a contracting perspective, and this is what I'd asked you, is like, is it two separate contracts where you're paying a Salesforce contract and you have, because it's like, to your point, like I had spoken to the city of San Francisco, or I was emailing back and forth, I'm supposed to catch up with them again, but the mayor's office there, their IT department, for example, developed their lottery system. And what they've done then is created an open source version of that for surrounding counties. So the questions about what this looks like, is this going to be like a platform that you can open up to like around the state, that everyone can sort of be on a uniform platform like they've done in San Francisco, because San Francisco did build it on top of Salesforce. But I don't know, it's also a single family and multifamily platform for renting and buying. So I'm just like that whole sort of question on like the building the lottery functionality versus the sort of CRM aspects of transition and how that works from a contracting perspective.
So there's a lot in there. It is a single contract with PruTech, but that is more of a procurement, I'll call it restriction, that Lisa or someone can talk to if you want. We are not able to contract directly with Salesforce, and so we buy our Salesforce licenses through a reseller. That said, the services portion of the contract and the Salesforce licensing portion of the contract are effectively separate. And so we can end our services relationship with PruTech whenever we want, and we can continue the Salesforce licensing component for as long as we want. So even though it's a single contract, it's effectively two contracts. To your question about opening up the use of Salesforce, that is 100% in our plans to start, as you say, becoming more of a Salesforce company and leveraging Salesforce for more functionality. I'm not 100% sure what you mean when you say turning it into an open source system and opening it up.
Like this platform, for example, if like we built the state lottery system, if there are units that are available through like a county that has available, like if you look at it like San Francisco, it's different because it's a city and they're working with other jurisdictions. But it's a question of whether, and I don't know how whether.
You're saying like if a county has housing available, can they put it up on our?
And they put it on our system. In fact, there's a very strict linkage. It's the same exact software that Alameda County uses that the city of San Francisco County. So it's like there's continuity across at least the Bay Area region in terms of like someone's looking for a housing, it can run to like a single source of food.
So that's not in our plans right now, but it's certainly a possibility in the future. The scope that we've defined for this project is to list and host the properties that are, I'll call it under HCR's purview, right? Which doesn't include everything that's under NYCHA or New York City purview, doesn't include anything that was done exclusively by a county or municipality across New York State. But the ability to do that would be there in the future if we decide to. And I think it would be a good idea, right?
We can't get there unless we do this.
We can't get there from here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But from what you're saying then, what if something is jointly under the purview of New York City, New York State?
Then
Is being financed
It
by
might be on
both.
both websites.
then it would probably,
On both
our
websites.
current scenario would be on both websites.
And they
not
don't
bad.
communicate with each other.
And they would communicate. Well, the website, technically they will communicate with each other, but through process and people, they will, if New York State fills the apartment, New York City would take it down, take the listing down,
So you
right?
do communicate, but a person can't apply for the same unit through different places and think they got it?
Correct,
There'd
right.
be
It
one
would be-
lottery for the building,
Right.
so there's only one.
Yeah, currently for HPD jointly funded projects, we let them take the lead on marketing because they have the Housing Connect website. In this case, it's sort of we need to start a conversation whether we want it to be listed on both, or it'll just be a link towards Housing Connect, or.
The one thing is, and this is a question on the other thing got feedback on San Francisco is that they outsource the actual running of the lottery itself from, I think, indemnification purposes. Like, how are we indemnified by, like, if they screw up the lottery, are we gonna get sued? Or like, what are we looking at from protection? Like, I just know that and I don't know how HPD does it, but there has been a separation between the actual running of the lottery function and the portal function. And so are we looking at sort of that level of sort of splitting it out from like I think from a risk, like, I don't want to get sued because like our software breaks down because we can't run a lottery.
I would assume that this is something that would be addressed through the master services agreement, which is something that's being currently worked on, and we've engaged external counsel to assist with that process.
But it's the housing companies that effectively facilitate the lottery, right? We provide the platform.
We provide the provide the platform.
We don't facilitate
Right.
the lottery.
Okay.
Right, so
Are they sort of, I mean, yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of us
You're
tracking.
just asking what our liability is.
Yeah.
Basically.
Currently, it's up to the owner and managing agent to run the lottery, and with the system, it would continue that way.
It doesn't change, the risk profile doesn't change with this solution.
Right. But we're providing a standard process.
So we would have the liability then.
No,
developer.
Developer has the liability, even though they're using our program.
We're providing a tool.
providing a tool for them to use to facilitate the lottery.
Right, but if there's a problem with the tool, that results in a problem with the lottery. What is our liability? I mean, they're using our tool. So if there is a problem, not because of what they've done, but there's a problem with the program itself, I assume that we then have the liability.
You mean the technology?
Yeah.
If we run the technology? I mean, I don't know that we anticipate they'll
Hopefully there won't be, but
necessarily
you know,
technology for some super.
tending to have worked for the city and the state a long time, I tend to be very risk averse.
I mean, I would imagine if a lottery didn't function correctly, they would redo the lottery.
Yeah, remarket.
Redone.
If the
Or
like technology
corrected.
failed or something, but I think once the lotterization was done, it's really like a list of people's names on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Not like a technology.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, that was
I think
interesting.
it's self-even.
That was interesting to me that like San Francisco had separated out the lottery process from the portal process. And that they had a third-party certifier on the lottery and someone else on it. So that was the only reason I asked, because it like, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was liability perspective, whatever, but you're right, you would just like probably rewrite. But I just like, I don't know if there was anything that we thought of.
I don't think when you guys' discussion with the city, they've had like many instances where the technology itself was problematic. I think there's things in the process that are, and that's why the call center and people, they're filed or this, I mean, that I think is probably more common. And we have a call center that will help people navigate the process.
Theoretically, once it's up and running, it's running. That kinks have
And
been
it's
worked
maintained.
out.
Yeah, and the contract gets maintained.
Yeah.
This timing thing, I think you said it's about a year to develop.
Correct.
So it's December 14th. And let's say we
By next
come to
Christmas?
terms and we approve this thing. So what, you've got to reach out, you've got to do more of, contracting, I'm sure. So when does this thing go live?
The plan is for it to go live December next year.
Nice. Okay, write that down. Put that in the minutes.
No,
It's great.
but Kenny, I think the other thing too is Thomas we spoke about this a couple times, and I think what he's going to help come up with is for the agency, the larger roadmap on the technology side to say that like, this is what Salesforce is.
Yeah.
This is where it sits across the agency. Here's the functionality of the agency. This is what BAM does. This is what this does. Because at the end of the day, it's like we have there's one human being that is going to be in 17 different systems if we don't do this right. And that's my worry is like, you're like, oh, I have to deal with vouchers over here and I have to deal with applying for this here and the developer has to deal with a different software over here. So that integration aspect is really important, I think, from making sure that we're road mapping and spending less on and, you know, measuring twice and cutting once.
Yeah, well said. Great. Any other questions? Very helpful presentation. Thanks for all the information. Thanks for the good work. Thanks, Lisa, again, on the procurement. Diana, let's do it.
Now before the HFA members is a
A suggestion, a hint?
Resolution authorizing contract with
What's the word?
Solutions for information technology solution for housing lottery and waitlist system. Assuming the first and second previously entered for all the boards, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
For carrying the resolutions adopted.
For now. You have to come back to it.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's only HFA?
That's it.
Oh, so you're getting paid from it. Oh, my
Yeah,
goodness.
only multifamily.
Yeah. Great. Congratulations.
Everyone.
Thank you. See you next year.
Well, you don't spend it all in one
Actually,
place.
5 years.
Yeah, see you in December. Oh, great. Thank you very much. Now we're going to do an AHC consent item, resolution authorizing award of grant funds for certain projects.
Now
Diana?
before AHC is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carrying the resolution adopted.
Let's go to an HTFC agenda item. Number 1, first item agenda is minutes of the board and the audit committee meetings held on November 9th. 2023, the minutes shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from members and directors. Anybody from HTFC care? Okay, good. And now we have number 2, resolutions of the audit committee and the board approving the annual authorities budget office, the ABO budget and financial plan.
That's Stacy Mickelson.
Stacy.
Where is she?
Yes,
Ah,
good morning,
there she
everyone.
is. Very patient. You've waited almost 2 hours.
I've
Okay,
been
great.
waiting, yes, no. So today I am seeking approval of HTFC's submission to the authorities budget office for the financial plan and the budget in the format as required by the authorities budget office. As I've probably mentioned in years past, this particular format is a little bit difficult to navigate and doesn't really give a good or true picture of the budget for the trust fund. So as I've done in years past, in March, I will present a much more detailed budget to the board for your consideration and approval, which will have information based on funds that we anticipate that we will receive from the state through the state's budget process. Obviously, we don't have a good handle on that this year, but this particular presentation provides to you information on the actual expenditures from the fiscal year ending 2023. That's the first column. And that particular column lines out directly to the financial statements that you approved in June. We also have provided in the second column an estimate of where we think we're going to be for full revenue and expenditures as of 3/31/2024. We also provide to you the 2025 fiscal year end 3/31/2025 estimate for revenue and expenditures, and then the outlying years of 26 to 28 are, much more estimated. And you'll see a huge decrease in revenue and expenditures for those outlying years, and that is directly tied to the potential loss of the PBCA fee income. We're not sure the status of that agreement at this time, so we're conservatively estimating that we will not have those funds in the outlying years. So the vast majority of our operating revenue is the PBCA fees, and that's where you see that on the other operating revenue line. We have information on state and federal grant programs that we receive money on. And then our operating expenditures include just the payments that we directly pay out of our the Housing Trust Fund PBCA fees, anything that we receive reimbursement from a federal program on actually lines out under our other non-operating expenditures. That's the way that we have to do that for this particular presentation. I am open to any questions that you may have on this. Otherwise, I am seeking approval for this so we can comply with the authority's budget office requirements.
Stacy, thank you very much. I'm sure everybody agrees we want to let you move forward for this, and we understand that you might want to come back in March if things change and, give us an appropriate update. Any questions or comments for Stacy on her presentation? Great, let's do it.
Now before the HFC Audit Committee members is a resolution approving the annual authority assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Audit Committee. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the resolution adopted.
And now before the HFT, that's you, sorry. Item 3, a resolution authorizing an affordable homeownership opportunity program award. 140.
Wait, Diana, I'm sorry.
I need to.
Diana, we need the board. Yep,
Yes.
thank you.
So I just saw that. I just turned the page.
Oh, I was about to read. Oh,
No, because what we.
I almost read that myself.
We got the vote of the audit committee member.
Let's do the board.
Yes. Now before the HFC board
Bingo.
is a resolution approving the annual authority budget and financial plan between the first and second previously entered for the HFC. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carrying, the resolution adopted.
Thank you. Now we can go to number 3. Thank you, Stacy, for catching that. A resolution authorizing an affordable homeownership opportunity program award for 140 LeCount Owner LLC. Tom is going to present that. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. So I have 3 in a row, so I'll be fairly brief on each, but happy to answer additional questions as they come. So the first one, this is a project called Stella Phase 2. This is the largest project we've brought to date through the AHOP program. It's $25.2 million in AHOP subsidy to support the construction of a 17-story, 126-unit condo development in downtown New Rochelle. This is a transit-oriented development. It is just a 5-minute walk from Metro North.
That is keep going.
It's really typing.
It's mute.
Of course, Galaxy.
I think it might be. Or you got mute. I think it might be you.
Are you listening to spam a lot?
Oh, no.
All right.
I think it's Chris.
So all 126 units are priced to be affordable to households making 80% of AMI in Westchester County. The unit mix consists of 14 studios, 56 one-bedrooms, 42 two-bedrooms, and 14 three-bedrooms. And our developer here is a joint venture between 2 sort of large development firms. The first is Balter Partners, a Westchester-based firm, frequent partner of the agency. They do both market rate and affordable development. The other partner is L&M Development Partners through their LMXD affiliate, which focuses on mixed income development. In some ways, this is a difficult project. It has fairly high hard costs due to it being a tall building. There's a lot of structural steel. There's a tight site. There's environmental remediation necessary. And the site had sort of high development potential. So there was, a need for a substantive acquisition cost here. But they've pulled together a suite of sources that really matches those challenges. So there's acquisition subsidy from Westchester County, a variety of contributions from the city of New Rochelle, including some development subsidy, down payment assistance for prospective buyers, and a pilot. So a result of those is that these homeowners in the building will have pretty low monthly costs as compared to a buyer purchasing a comparably priced property in the area. Finally, we're putting in a small amount of AHC here on a per unit basis, $25,000. That'll be brought to the board later. And there are brownfield tax credits here that are sort of working with the remediation. That remediation is already complete. Finally, just sort of adding to the challenges here, there's 101 parking spaces, so that sort of a higher parking requirement than you would see in a comparable project in New York City. But the homeowners in this building will also have access to some spaces in the municipal parking garage across the street. We're excited about this one. Big development, great potential.
Thanks.
Good. Any questions?
Yeah, it looks like a very big development for New Rochelle.
Yeah.
Well, have you been to New Rochelle lately?
I've heard about it.
It's one in a series of many larger developments.
Like what?
But count,
Incredible how much it's changed.
but count one already converted, right?
Yeah, the Stella, the phase one of this project, the
Yeah,
rental,
right.
yes, yeah.
4% or whatever was the drawdown of the city.
I have to
Anybody
recuse because we're the lender, but I wanted to mention that this is a deal, not like, unlike some of the others that we'll see, where developers would have done a rental, but they're pivoting to use different programs and try a different path. Is the bond cap limitation. So this is one of those. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
But I think if we saw it as a 4% deal, it wouldn't feel quite as expensive. When we're such a large piece of the subsidy, it's challenging, so. But it is a great opportunity to get some affordable homeownership in the city, which is really neat.
It'll be the first condo development in the city in 15 years.
Tom, why don't you do, I think we can do this, Alex, right? And we'll speak to all three of your projects now, just, and then we'll vote them as a group.
Great.
Save time.
The second one is 99 Church. So this is similar development team, so also working with Waller Brothers partners here, not in a joint venture structure here. They're doing this one on their own. Lender is also CPC for this project. This is $13.6 million in AHOP subsidy to support the adaptive reuse of an existing office building dating back to the 1960s in downtown White Plains. So sort of this kind of office conversion thing that I feel like is very in the development zeitgeist at the moment. It is a pretty substantive scope of work for an adaptive reuse. So the sort of conversion from office to residential entails a replacement of the facade, a full replacement of the MEP systems, and some selective demolition to shorten the floor plate. 68 units here, skewed smaller because of just sort of configuration constraints. 44 one bedrooms, 16 two bedrooms, and 8 3 bedrooms. And likewise transit oriented, downtown White Plains, very close to the Metro North Station.
You're not leaving any.
They're drawing on some similar sources. There's some Westchester County subsidy for acquisition, some AHC from us. All good?
No, all good.
Okay.
All right.
And homes here also regulated at 80% of AMI. So average sales price of about $286,000, right at that 80% cap. One of the real benefits of the substantive scope of work here is that it's anticipated that this building will be very energy efficient. The replacement of the facade will really tighten things up. I will leave it there for time constraints, but happy to answer questions.
Can I ask one question? I meant to ask this on the last one, but just as not to put you on the spot if you don't have this number, but the sales prices there were like 300,000 and change here, also 300,000, just sort of a note about what you think the market otherwise would be in the absence of a project like this that people would be buying it.
Yeah, so we have sort of draft appraisals, market studies for both of these projects, and they show that we're at a pretty significant discount to market for especially on the bigger units. The 2 bedrooms, the 3 bedrooms are like 30–40% below market for comparables. It's, you know, there's not a ton of comps, and there's no studio comps like to speak of.
Really?
But the ones that we're seeing are older and also more expensive, basically, is what the market is right now. And especially on Stella, the sort of monthly cost bit of the pilot, it really, really helps with marketability because you're not putting out as much per month. That information the discount to market is in the memo. I don't know that I have a table of like the comps, but it's in there.
I assume that given the state of the office market, we're going to be seeing more adaptive reuse.
I imagine so, though, you know, they've been able to make this work because they've pulled together a lot of sources and because AHOP is a fairly rich subsidy source, but it's expensive.
To make a residential building, an office building into a residential.
Yeah, they're basically having to demolish like a big piece of the building in order to like bring in light and air into those interior units. And so that's sort of like, you know, shortening the gap between what it would cost to build a new building and what it costs to do the adaptive reuse. It's not all that different here.
Are they getting the tax abatement in White Plains also?
No, so that's a City of New Rochelle pilot, not a Westchester County pilot. So the White Plains homeowners are paying, you know, the market tax rate, which sort of affects the sales prices and lowers the sales proceeds you can get for the same AMI. Great, next one. AIK Summit Ave. So this is a sort of more in the traditional wheelhouse of what you've seen through AHOP thus far. This is $7.6 million in AHOP subsidy to construct 38 single-family homes in the city of Schenectady. Our borrower here is AIK, a joint venture between AIK Property Group and MLB Construction Services. AIK is a Black-owned, family-owned affordable housing development company that focuses on women-owned, well, yes, that focuses on development in the capital region. They're working on a Legacy Cities project with us at the moment, so excited to bring them in on this program as well. They're also working through CPC's Access program, which tries to help newer developers. Their the partner in the joint venture is MLB Construction Services, which is just like a super established construction and development firm that's been active in Schenectady for a long time. There's some participation from the locality here too. So the Schenectady's Metroplex Development Authority is providing a little bit of development subsidy and also working on a pilot here that has not been locked down. Right now we're underwriting to market taxes, but we expect that the sort of sales price AMI should come down when that pilot is in there. The unit mix 17 2-bedrooms and 21 3-bedrooms, and getting some pretty deep affordability here. Sales prices at 157,000 at average, and an average sales price AMI of 62%. This is modular, so they're working with a Pennsylvania-based modular company to do all these homes, and there will be 4. It's sort of a phased project with a couple at a time. I'll leave it there.
All right.
I just add, we have a lot of rental deals in Schenectady. We do a lot of work in Schenectady, both just regular rental housing authority. So it's nice to see this added to that overall mix. It's great.
Yeah, and it's really focused in one neighborhood too, which is one of our policy goals here, is like getting that like neighborhood level impact, and so that's been great to see.
Terrific. We've commented and asked questions, Tom, along the way, but let me one more time see if anyone has questions or comments for Tom on all 3. Sadie, you have to recuse yourself.
I'm recusing, yes.
Let the records reflect that Sadie can recuse herself.
From all 3.
APC,
3, yes.
From all 3.
A partner in these great projects.
Okay, I'm going to do, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so now before the HFC board are 3 resolutions as follows. Authorizing an affordable homeownership opportunity program award for 140 LeCount Owner LLC. That's the first one. The second one is an award for WBP Development LLC. And the third is for AI. Assuming the first and second, I'm going to note that Sadie is recusing herself. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFC board, all in favor, please say aye for these 3 resolutions.
Aye.
Aye. The motions plural are carried and the resolutions plural for 3 are adopted. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Dennis.
I'm sorry, Diana, did you note that Sadie recused herself?
Yes.
I sure did.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm glad you guys are paying attention.
Wait, was that
No, that was
Sarah.
Oh, sorry. Didn't recognize voice. So let's go to number 6, a resolution authorizing community development block grant housing program awards from Crystal. Good morning, Crystal.
Hi. I have 6 items. Would you like for me to run through them all at once?
You read my mind.
Okay, great.
Great idea.
Okay. I will note that 3 of them are our annual competitive housing grant program. So there'll be a combined 46 million for 119 awards, but I'll give you each of them individually. So first are the CDBG housing program awards. This month we're requesting board approval to award just over 17 million and enter into grant agreements with 34 awardees. The full list of awardees and details are included in the memo, but this is for owner-occupied rehab, manufactured housing replacement, and well and septic replacement programs. The next item is our monthly CDBG economic development activity. This month we're requesting approval to award $300,000 to Livingston County to continue its local microenterprise grant program. I will note that this is Livingston County's 7th micro program. They're very good at this. Full details are in the memo. Happy to answer any questions later. The next item, number 8, is a repeat. We had this on the board last month to award $22 million in CDBG public infrastructure facilities and community planning activities. We identified a clerical error after the meeting, and although the amount of funding and number of awards was accurate, the award list was missing 3 awards, so we're advancing it again. Board approval to award $22 million in CDBG funds and enter into grant agreements with 33 awardees. Number 9 is our annual New York State Home Program Local Awards. This is a request to award just over $14 million in New York State home funds for what we call locally administered activities. These are awards to municipalities and non-for-profits. This will be 26 awardees for that $14 million. And then, whoops, I think I have the numbers up. Okay. And then number 10 is what a portfolio of programs that we call the state housing grant programs. This includes Access to Home for Heroes, Access to Home for Medicaid members, which all provide grants to support accessibility modifications, Mobile and Manufactured Home Replacement Program, and the Restore Program, which provides grants to assist elderly homeowners with emergency repairs. These are collectively just over 14 million among the 5 programs, and we're asking for approval to enter into 59 grant agreements with the identified awardees. And then the final item, number 11, is a request for another Land Bank Initiative Award. You've seen this one a couple of times before the board, dipping into $50 million that was included in last year's budget to support the services and expenses of land banks. This one, we are requesting approval to award up to $300,000 in Land Bank Initiative funding to support the Essex County Land Bank, which is New York State's 28th approved land bank. Okay, fast enough. 6 items.
Excellent.
Thank you, Crystal.
Crystal, in the, I guess maybe it was the 3rd item, but the CDBG Public Infrastructure Community Planning Program Awards, I assume that the 3 that were in the end that were highlighted in yellow are the ones we're supposed to note that weren't described or counted. The dollars were the 22 million, but those were the items that were missing from last time?
That's correct.
Great, super helpful. Any questions for Crystal on this? Diana, let's do it.
Okay, we're going to take the 6 resolutions that Crystal just described. So now before the HFC board are 6 resolutions authorizing community development block grant programs as follows. Community awards. Second is the award for Livingston County. Third is the block grant public infrastructure, public facility and community planning awards. 4th is the resolution authorizing New York State Home Local Program Awards. 5th is the resolution authorizing New York State Housing Grant Program Awards. And 6th, last but not least, resolution authorizing a Land Bank Initiative Award for the Essex County Land Bank. Now before the HFC board are resolutions authorizing those 6 resolutions that I mentioned. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. The 6 motions are carried and the resolutions, all 6 are adopted.
What's that?
Number 12?
Number 12?
You losing steam?
No, I wanted to say something about these because it's what I often say about Dominic's presentation, and I want to do this while Crystal's still at the table.
Yes.
Which is that this is you went through really quickly, and we appreciate that because the clock here is ticking. But this is an unbelievable amount of work. Yes. Number one, and just to recognize that at the end of the year, Crystal, to you and your colleagues who make this possible. I mean, I look at some of these things. I also think that $300,000 to Essex County for a land bank. That's a lot of money to them. That's them. I mean, in our numbers in this agency where we're talking hundreds of millions and billions, maybe it doesn't feel that way, but I think we all need to recognize that all the work that goes into that, never mind setting up and improving the land bank, over at ESD, this is a tremendous amount of work to get this to this point where we so quickly, almost as a perfunctory way, kind of approve it. So just want to salute you, Crystal, and your colleagues for pulling all this together and making it happen and recognizing that, again, what sometimes seem like these are $200, $300, $400, $100,000 grants. The work is just the same as many other bigger programs, and the compliance with federal funding sources and so on is just so complicated. But the impact that can have at the local level we shouldn't overlook that. I'm sure, people complain the money takes too long to get there, but they don't complain when they get it. And when they do, it can make a real difference. So congratulations.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I have a great team at OCR.
Later, you're going to explain to us offline what it's like to set up a land bank in a 6 million acre state park. So the idea of a land bank in the in Essex County in the Adirondacks kind of cracks me up, but anyway, that's another story.
Item 12.
Well, land banking land you can't develop, but I'm sure this is part of Essex County, that's it's outside the blue line, right? The public, it's outside of the park boundary. Okay, I guess we got to go to 12.
I have a question.
Do you need?
Good, because I need to stop 512 here.
We might.
I know what.
Do we need saving?
So you want to leave?
For this or for 12 to?
I'm just trying to get at, like, this was booked in my calendar through 10:30 and now we're running up on 11:30. So another request would be, can we have the calendar invites go to like?
Let's
My
see.
calendar's at my own
Yes,
size.
no, I hear you.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
So I'm blowing through a bunch of meetings.
Let's
Yeah.
And we don't.
12, 13, 14. And then, yeah, well,
1, 2, 3,
No.
4, 6, 7, all the 7 board members, I think.
ask Alex.
I'll ask Alex, but if we've got 7. I think-
Yeah, the answer is, I think, yeah, let's get Alex in here, but we may be able to say. Excuse me.
Okay.
All right.
Well, let's ask Alex, who's the quorum expert.
Diana, without Sadie, we will have 7, so we'll be
Yeah,
good
so I
for
think we're fine.
HTFC.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can, I don't need Alex to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we only need 6, so we'll be okay.
Sadie can go, right?
It's pretty funny when the guy you turn to for quorum requirements is absent. Like,
know.
that's ironic, right?
Yeah, I think,
Because
yeah, we're fine with that.
Bless you, thank you.
Sadie, happy holidays. Thank you very much for your help today. Good to see you and thanks so much.
Thanks.
Let's do 12, a resolution authorizing a preventive troubled asset program award for Barker Terrace.
Morning, everyone. I'm here before you today to request authorization for an approval of PTAP or Preventive Troubled Asset Program funds in the amount of $293,000 for an HCR supervised Mitchell-Lama cooperative located in Mount Kisco, New York. Just as a little bit of background, PTAP is a program that's been in existence for about 7 years now that is the agency uses to respond to exigent physical needs and to ensure the health and safety of residents of the agency's various housing portfolios. Only properties that are already financed and covered by a regulatory agreement, either from HFA, HTFC, or DHC are eligible. There is no formal application process. Rather, Office of Housing Preservation staff assesses and prioritizes PTAP considerations for HCR properties that have the most significant needs, and PTAP funds are only used to address deficiencies that could pose an immediate risk to a development, and particularly risk that matters that could risk the health and safety of tenants. And anything that requires a more comprehensive rehabilitation is referred to our Office of Housing and our Office of Finance and Development for a more long-term preservation strategy, which is exactly the reason we're requesting these funds today. A little bit of background about this property. Barker Terrace is a small development of only 92 units, comprised mostly of very limited income senior citizen residents. The development has substantial capital needs and no free cash resources. It thus needs our assistance in order to prepare itself for an application to HFA. It's already started to go through that technical assistance process already. And what this PTAP funding is looking to be used for is to engage an architect to put together plans for a more substantial capital repair plan, environmental testing, and also some very urgent boiler work. In the interest of time, I'll stop there, but if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
It's kind of leaky roof fund.
That's right. I mean, it's again, and of course, really for only our most significant needs. And this in particular is one. I mean, no one wants to see a boiler going out in the winter time. And in particular, this property, has started already going through technical assistance for a more substantial rehab plan for through our F&D unit. And we really, they could really use just some help to get some of the planning done for that.
Great. Perfect. Any questions? No? Diana, let's do this.
Now before the HFC board is a resolution authorizing a preventative troubled asset program award for Barker Terrace, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
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 motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Let's do 13, a resolution authorizing the establishment and funding of the weatherization HEAP or HEAP program. Submit.
Hello.
She's right here.
I'm right here. I'm ready. Thank you. So I am here seeking approval from the board to enter into contract to transfer just over $15 million of home energy assistance program money, aka HEAP money, which we use to fund our weatherization assistance program work throughout the state of New York. With this transfer, we would then ask the board to enter into up to 10 contracts with our existing sub-grantee network of weatherization assistance providers across the state to administer weatherization services to help low-income housing throughout the state, both weatherize and partially or fully electrify with the use of these funds.
Great. Thanks, Samantha. Questions? Good. Everybody good? All right, Diana.
Now before the HFC board is a resolution authorizing the establishment and funding of the weatherization HEAP program, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
14 is a resolution authorizing amendments to the Fair Housing Testing Services contracts. Thank you, Samantha. So next up. Brooke. Oh, that's right. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, how are you?
Seen you all.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here to request an extension of just under 2 months for 4 contracts with fair housing organizations to carry out fair housing testing. The contract term expires February 8th, 2024, and the extension is sought to March 31st. Non-compliance with fair housing laws is very hard to detect. It's often done with a smile and a handshake. What we like to say is that someone has no idea if the apartment was actually rented 5 minutes ago, or they were denied housing because of the race, sex, or because they're a member of another protected class. So testers send out applicants to housing that has all the same characteristics. They present similar jobs, similar financial profiles, except for the one thing you're testing for, race, sex, Section 8, to see if there's any unlawful difference in treatment. If there's unlawful difference in treatment, an enforcement action is brought. It's really a very powerful fair housing tool, and it's a great mechanism to enforce the law. We entered into a contract with 6 fair housing testing organizations of testing across the state. As you may recall, this is an expansion of our pilot testing program of $250,000 to $2.2 million. We're incredibly proud of that. There have been some startup lags with the fair housing testing organizations, mostly in staffing, and each organization have addressed some of the staffing concerns, and they feel confident that they can complete all the testing within the allotted extension of time. Any questions?
You know, I think you've explained this to us in previous meetings. The testing involves people actually going out, kind of,
exactly.
Not that you hire actors, but almost, right? Or some of these organizations.
They actually do use
and they say, hey, go respond to that ad and see what happens.
Exactly, right.
So you get real evidence, like
real evidence.
Recording,
They're wearing
conversations.
Yep, they're wearing wires.
Oh, really?
Also,
Wow.
so that you're able to keep the evidence and establish it. I used to, when I was doing fair housing compliance work, had a drawer with wedding rings so that people would actually show that they were married, if we were saying that they were married, to make sure that all the characteristics are similar.
So any testing in New Rochelle?
There's testing everywhere. I will say, and that's why it's such a powerful deterrent, right?
Yeah, we don't say where we're testing, Director. No. We
Just a
simply say we do the testing.
We do testing.
So you two have had more trouble with this in the
This is
past than
true.
others.
Yeah, and that's why we rely on the Fair Housing Testing Organization to actually know their areas and know where the problems are to be able to target the testing.
Right.
Is there other-
To know local brokers and
The
hustlers and
program.
other people.
Are there other data points that we get on people from feedback of like, oh, this voucher has been rejected 10 times? Like, do we know if that happens?
Yeah, so we do get feedback from the fair housing testing organizations. We also work with Enterprise as well to help organize the fair housing testing organizations as well. So we do get feedback, which is really helpful for us when we're doing our education on fair housing to know what we should be educating for and where. It's a good feedback loop for us.
Be interesting for the board to see that.
Yeah, and some of it is hard because it's subject to FOIL, and we also want to make sure that we're not blowing cover, which would make some of the future testing harder later. Right.
We're not asking for photographs of the testers.
Got it. We could obviously come back and do a report with some of the findings and talk a little bit more about testing as well.
It's a really important area.
It really is.
Investigations, we like to say the target should be the last to know.
Is that what you're saying, investigation?
You're talking to somebody who works for the patrol. 15 years.
The target. Brooke, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's do it.
Okay, so now before the HTFC board is a resolution authorizing amendments to fair housing testing services. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
We've got number 3. We're at number 3.
No, we're 15.
I can't find my 15.
Okay, because there's no page in
I know. Here it is. Is this Elation Systems?
Yes.
Yeah. So 15 is resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with Elation Systems, Inc. And I think for the third time, we get to, we get a visit from Carrie.
Oh, yeah, this is on, this care, it's not here.
Okay. Someone will explain Elation
Do you
Systems, I
want to
think.
come back to this one? Should we do 16?
Let's do 16.
Okay, we'll skip.
A resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with Mindlance, Inc.
Dan?
Is Dan doing this?
Yeah, hi. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Hi.
I'm
going to present on this on behalf of procurement. This is a lot of words to just explain what's really a minor accounting issue. The Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program had a temp working at our Beaver Street office for about a year. The temp stayed a few days past the work order, so procurement has advised me that we should seek a resolution to extend the contract by a few days so we can fully pay the invoice. The temp is no longer working for us. We're eventually going to replace this position with a permanent hire.
Okay, Dan, thank you. I think we understand that, and that works.
My turn?
Yeah, that was 16.
Now before the HTFC board is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with Mindlance, Inc. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Do we go back to 15? Hold on.
Let's go to, the only thing is, Alex, Sarah, I don't know if you're comfortable doing the presentation on item 15. Alex tells me.
I just sent a note to Lisa and Carrie to see if someone's available to come do a presentation, but I can also take a quick look at it and present.
We're just going to pause it and we'll come back to it.
Okay, Carrie's coming back. We'll be good. Thanks, Krista. 217, a resolution authorizing amendments to legal services contracts with Rosario Tuma PC and with Damicabal, Orsay, and Curler Burke LLP.
How you say it?
Hi. Hi, the D.R. Campbell and Rosario firms are working with us on a number of items, trying to wrap up stuff with formerly Gozer, now RHC legal work. They help with litigation, recapture services, real property, reversionary interests, enforcement, bankruptcy foreclosures, and general legal services. We have an existing contract with them, and we would like to extend it. We're not increasing the not to exceed amount, so it's just a time extension to continue to wrap up the work that we are doing with closing out these Gozer RHC items.
Okay, do it.
Now before the HTFC board is a resolution authorizing amendments to legal services contracts with Rosario Tuma PC and with Kambal, Worsley, and Furler Burke LLP. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carrying the resolution adopted.
Very good.
18.
18. Moving right along. Almost 10 o'clock. Resolution
Or
authorizing
F.
central contract with Impact Strategic Consulting LLC.
My computer says it's 3:03 p.m.
Stop.
MPAC does, oh, ready? Sorry.
Please, please,
MPAC
please.
helps us with our, are they ready for me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. MPACT helps with our monitoring compliance services, including program strategy, technical assistance, training, and the development of tools for monitoring compliances across multiple programs, and formerly goes there now RHC, including wage compliance. The need for these services is essential in closing out a number of the programs that we're trying to close out with RHC. For the Sandy funding, there is no increase in the not to exceed amount of the contract. Again, we're just looking for an extension of time.
Okay, that's helpful.
Okay.
Diana?
Now before the HFC board is a resolution authorizing extension of the contract with Impact Strategic Consulting LLC, assuming the first and second previously entered to the board. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
19, a resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with Guidehouse LLP. Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do, Diana's recommending that we do
all of these?
all three together. Can we do that?
Oh, yeah, so can you do 19?
It's both here.
It's really three. 25.
She's all the way up to 25.
Let's do it.
Yes. So I think globally what we're seeing here is exactly what you heard from Amy Zamenek, which is that we're at the point where we're closing out the Sandy recovery programs. These firms were competitively procured. There are a range of different increases that are outlined in the memoranda and a range of different time extensions. They're associated with 2 or 3 different previous procurements. So that globally covers Guidehouse, Teleku, Lero, K2. Sorry, I have a lot of these, right? And in K2. Some nuance for SCAPE and for the Billion Oyster Project. SCAPE and the Billion Oyster Project are involved with the design and construction of our living breakwaters off the coast of Staten Island. We're required by HUD to use SCAPE as the architect of record. We are increasing the amount by $1 million because we need to recognize the full level of effort it takes to deploy the divers and all of the desktop review required to make sure that the breakwaters are constructed in a way where the rocks are geo-positioned.
So the oysters will be happy.
Yes, but that's actually the Billion Oyster Project.
Like we're turning now to affordable housing for oysters.
Housing Trust Fund Corporation is constructing an underwater palisade off the coast of Staten Island. The Billion Oyster Project they're growing the oysters for us. They're responsible for the install of the oysters. We are giving them $35,000 to help consult with us on the oyster permitting. That was the requirement from DEC to make sure that we're successful in that permitting process. The only contract here you will see an increase on at a later time will be the contract with the New York Harbor Foundation Billion Oyster Project, because until we have the permits done, we don't know the exact scope of the oysters. The last contract.
Violation of state ethics law to request a sample of the oysters when these things are ready.
No, this is a violation. You want the pearls again.
There you go. It's monetary value.
Food poisoning is free.
Yeah, well, this is off the, as was delicately put, off the coast of Staten Island, as if it were like south of France.
I'm not sure if they're available to be eaten, but they are on Governor's Island, and we surely can do a tour.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a tasting.
It's a great project. I mean, the oyster project.
Yeah. Lastly is a $1 million increase for Almas. Almas is working on our Mount Vernon pilot. That's a partnership with RHC and Crystal's Office of Community Renewals for Community Development Block Grants for coronavirus funding. What we're doing there is we are stopping effluents from backing up into people's basements through the because their sewer systems are collapsing. So
yeah, no, that's a problem. No, it's right.
That's a municipal problem. That's our problem.
It's a partnership that the governor announced about 1.5 years ago, where the DEC and EFC are taking the lead on the reconstruction of the public facilities, and we're helping to mitigate for the impacts of the private facilities. This contract is
responsible for the part that goes from the main sewer line building.
From the property line into the building. Yes, and we're putting in backflow valves so that effluents won't back up.
A one-way check valve, right? The water can only go one direction.
Yes.
It's inside pipe, right, the main drain, with water tries to go the other way, it won't open, water goes this way, it opens like that.
That's exactly.
Let's make sure we
Otherwise,
keep dirty water out of our.
one-way checklist. Make sure you have one. No home should be without one. So good project. Although the oysters is a little more appetizing.
Depends.
Let's do can we do the group of them, everybody?
I'm going to do,
Let's do it.
I think, okay, we've got 7 resolutions. Okay. Now before the HFC board are 7 resolutions that Mr. Lozito has described for us, and I'm just going to go. So the authorizing number 1, an amendment to the contract with Guidehouse LLP, amendment to the contract with Lira Engineers, Inc., amendment to the contract with Teleco Construction Management, Inc., amendment to the contract with Scape Landscape Architecture, DPC, amendment to the subrecipient agreement with the New York Harbor Foundation doing business as the Billion Oyster Project, amendment to the contract with K2 Intelligence LLC for the provision of monitoring and compliance services, and finally, the 7th resolution authorizing amendment to the contract with Almas Construction LLC. Now before the HTFC board are 7 resolutions as described previously, authorizing amendment to the 7 contracts I just described, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is adopted.
Good, thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Go back to Carrie.
Thank you.
And we can go back to Carrie, right?
Yeah.
Was 18?
Yep, we're gonna do the
15, sorry.
15.
station.
Yeah.
Happily.
Are we elated?
He's elated. We will be.
Are we elated?
So we'll be elated when it's over. Welcome back.
Hi.
We missed you.
I'm glad to be back, and I'm
You
glad
understood the whole
Lisa,
meeting, right? Like us.
yes, Lisa Pagnozzi with me. Lisa and I have been working closely together to look for more MWBE opportunities within our procurements. And one such example is this Elations contract that we've had since 2009. At the time, it was a single source, but after some research on the market, we believe we can diversify the responses to a new RFP that we plan to release in the new year. So we're, respectfully asking that we just amend the current contract for Elations for 1 more year, and then we will open this up to a new RFP, and also requesting, we're going to work with LCP Tracker, which is a competing software to Elations that will be the industry standard, especially through the DOE, as we will have a ton of new weatherization projects. So it just makes sense to shift over to the new software and also open up the opportunity for the possibility of an MWBE taking it on.
Sounds
Great.
good. Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good explanation.
Thank you.
Now before the HFC board is a resolution authorizing amendment to the contract with Relations Inc., assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And the resolution adopted.
Good. Thanks for Ruth Ann for juggling that successfully as you did. The remainder of the HTFC agenda items this morning are informational. There'll be no presentation unless requested by the members, which is something I prohibit you from doing. 26, review the secret concur actions. 27, review the secret type 2 actions. 28, an annual review of the independent auditor services agreement with Luntz and McCormick LLP. That's an audit committee item. And 29, review the current agency procurements and contracts in the lobbying restricted period. There being no further business for HFA, HTFC, and the AHC boards, Diana, I would like to ask you to please secure motions and seconds to adjourn this morning's meeting.
So moved.
Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA, HFC, and HC boards, all in favor of adjourning, think about it, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motions are carried and meetings are adjourned.
Good. Now we can get started with our SONYMA meeting.
Good.
Good thing it's right on time.
That's excellent.
Do we have any additional members from SONYMA this morning?
Professor Ford and Mr. Freeman are not here, so
Okay.
we have a quorum.
We've lost
without them. James is not on there.
No, I would say save,
Mr.
but I would
Okay.
say. Oh, Dave,
We're good.
we're good.
Oh, and Davis.
Yeah, we have B, we have Morris,
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, James.
Yeah,
Happy holidays.
so we need five and we have five.
Great. All right. So we have 5, so we can do this.
Chris is
James, nice to see you. Thanks for your help on ProTech. Great questions.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Nice hat.
Nice hat.
Here. Very festive.
Great hat. Have you opened up the meeting?
No, I'm good.
Oh, let's do that.
I will ask.
We might
for
as
a
well get
motion
started.
For the Sunny
What
May
the heck?
Board. Make a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. I will now ask for individual votes from
You don't
each
need it.
Sunny May Board. I don't need it?
No.
Okay, I don't need it
Because we're here.
because everybody's here. I will ask for a motion for the Sunny May Audit Committee.
So moved.
Okay, second? Need.
Second?
Okay,
Thank
great. I don't think I don't need individual votes. I will accept the prior votes of Chairman Adams, Ms. Miller, and Mr. Peters. I ask for a motion for the Sunny May Governance Committee.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, I'll ask for individual, I don't need individual votes because you're all here. I'll accept the prior votes of Chairman Adams, Ms. Visnauskas, and Mr. Peters.
Great. Let's get on with it then. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the Audit and Governance Committee meetings and of the Sunny May Board meetings. Absent corrections from the directors, I will deem those minutes approved. Everybody good?
Yep.
We'll now move to the only item on the Sunny May Audit Committee agenda this morning. It's a resolution approving internal audit, Sunny May Operations Review Audit, and Management Response. And Khanim was going to present this. If she's still here, I mean, I could hardly blame her for walking away. Starting an hour late.
The efficiency of our board.
Yeah.
Morning. Good morning. So I'm asking for approval of the report. It was a clean report. We audited SONYMA operations, which consist of mainly of 3 functions: origination, servicing, and post-closing. So within our scope of review, we found out that the controls are adequate and risks and possible, let's say, possible risk and mitigation measures are being taken by management to reduce possible risks. So we came up with the clean audit, and we are grateful for the support. So we are asking for approval.
Well, that's, we're grateful to hear reports of clean audits. So you see, this is mutual gratitude right now. Thank you, Khanim. Let's do it.
Now before the Sunny May Audit Committee is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second is previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
The Governance Committee agenda, the minutes have been taken care of. We need to do this.
Yeah, the 7 items.
We
that
can
are-
vote them as a group, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were already
Thank you,
discussed.
They're already discussed.
There's,
And we got the presentation on Carrie on the MWB as we goal plans.
yep, we did.
So I think,
I don't think you need to read them
I don't
again,
think I need to read them.
so just get them.
I'm going to say, assuming the first and second previous items for the committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion is carried, the resolution's adopted. Actually, excuse me? We're not there yet. We're not,
Yeah.
which item 9?
Full policy extension.
We're not there yet. We're not there
We're
yet.
not
Yep.
there- yeah, so
Yep, we're in the governance committee.
we're now up to,
Yeah.
and we're up to resolution. to
Information
resolve-
items.
So I
Yeah.
think, how about resolution of salary ranges for senior officers?
Those were all taken care of.
That we did.
Okay,
The
so that-
authorization, because these are the 7.
These are the
Will I
7.
count them out? Bond link, we did.
Yep.
Trustee depository services, we just did.
Yep.
So now, I'd like to say that the next item on the governance committee agenda involves only Sunny May. Authorization to extend the contracts with the CFX Incorporated Inc. and Kane Mitter and Associates Incorporated for computational analytics services.
Correct.
That one, yeah?
That one, yeah.
So, is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
It's in the materials, and we looked at Kane Mitter before. So Diana, let's do that one.
This is CFX Incorporated?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now before the Sunny May Governance Committee is a resolution of the Governance Committee, State of New York Mortgage Agency approving the continued retention of the contracts with CFX Incorporated and Kane Mitter and Associates Incorporated for computational analytical services. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thanks, everybody. So the remaining governance committee items are informational items, right? An annual review of the contract with Digital Assurance Certification LLC, or DAC, to serve as dissemination agent and provide compliance disclosure services. A report on the salary adjustments for management confidential employees of the agencies, the ethics report, which we referenced earlier this morning, and its importance, and the annual review of the contract with Enact Mortgage Insurance Company, formerly the Genworth Mortgage Insurance Corporation, we know that name, for administrative services for the mortgage insurance funds, single-family pool policy loans that are purchased by SONYMA. So that is a new item, but it was in the materials. We could ask Mike to explain it, but I think we get it. We've done pool insurance extensions before, or expansions. So we'll now take up the SONYMA board items. That's all the committee informational items, right, Alex? So the next 5 items are also, now this is for SONYMA board, informational items. And these include the current agency procurements and lobbying law restricted period, the board self-evaluation, write your own report card, the ethics report, yet once again, the mortgage insurance fund activity report for November 2023, and something very exciting we looked at earlier, the report on Youth Construct, the funding for Youth Construct to train young people in the fields of development and so on. And we could, if we wanted to, have another presentation by Carrie. She would be making her 4th appearance this morning about Youth Construct, but I think we all heard that report. So if we can forego that, save her a trip to the table. Those are all informational items. So the next item was presented and discussed at the governance committee meeting about 2 seconds ago. Resolutions approving minority women-owned business enterprise annual goal plan for 24-25 and approving service disabled veteran-owned business program annual plan for fiscal year 24 and 25. Again, just to pause to say thank you to Carrie Torres for her great work and the many members of her team.
To point out the importance of this work.
And super important. But again, we discussed it, I think, sufficiently earlier on. So, Diana, I think unless there are any questions or concerns, comments from directors or members, you can proceed.
Yes, now before the Sunny Bay Board are the 2 resolutions that Ken just described. Assuming the first and second previously entered, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 The motions are carried, the resolutions adopted.
The next item is resolution authorizing legal services agreements with firms in the agency, newly established pre-qualified panel of law firms for legal matters, something again described by Diana Lopez in great detail in a very helpful way. Other than those pertaining to municipal finance transactions. Again, we emphasize this is for non-bound counsel services. True?
Correct.
Any more questions on this one?
Okay.
Diana covered it. All right, let's do
So
it.
now before the Sunny Bay Board is the resolution that Ken just described, assuming the first and second previously entered. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion adopted.
The last item on the agenda is a resolution approving increase to supplemental mortgage insurance policy for mortgage loans originated under SONYMA's single-family program. Mike is. That's good. I know we saw each other earlier, and I'm like, what's it like?
Chairman held the door for me on the way in today.
You're very patient. You, Mike, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Hi.
I'm here to present the resolution increasing and extending the MIF's pool policy number 031-0255 for SONYMA's single-family programs. So as the pool insurer for the State of New York Mortgage Agency, the Mortgage Insurance Fund provides pool insurance required by Moody's Investor Service, which rates SONYMA's revenue bonds. Moody's requires a pool policy that covers losses incurred as a result of mortgage loan defaults and sales of foreclosed properties up to an aggregate loss limit equal to 4% of the original face value of the policy. On December 13th, 2018, the directors approved the issuance of the MIF's pool policy 031-0255 in the face amount of $500 million to ensure mortgage loans be purchased with proceeds generated from SONYMA's HMB general resolution, their MRB resolution, and any other source of funds that SONYMA may determine during the period of January 1 through December 31 of 2019. This policy has an annual premium of 5 basis points, which is computed on an unpaid principal balance of the insured mortgage loans. Each subsequent year since then, the board has approved increases and extensions of the policy. Most recently, last year on December 16th, 2022, the directors approved a resolution increasing the face value of the policy up to $1.8 billion and extending it to cover loans covered during the period of January 1 through December 31, 2023. To date, SONYMA has purchased and reserved loans under the insured policy in an aggregate amount of $1.7 billion with a remaining capacity of $150 million. They are anticipating they need another $350 million for loans during the period of 2024. So the directors are requesting the directors increase the face value of the policy by $350 million to $2.2 billion to cover loans during the period of January 1 through December 31, 2024.
You see those numbers? Wow, that's a great program.
Do we always do it, Mike, with the calendar year as opposed to the state fiscal year?
That's the way that it's always worked.
So every December that we up the policy. But this is in addition to, so the loans that Sunny Mae makes have PMI insurance, like, I don't know if you put less than 20% down. And this is an additional layer of security, 4% that the rating agencies require. But it's a great service that the MIF provides.
Yeah, 'cause if we didn't have the MIF, how would we have to pay for it?
Yeah,
How would you pay for the premium?
They charge 5 basis points, right?
That's what you charge, so basically a premium.
Yeah.
Right. And the way it works, the pool insurance, as Alex said, if there is less than a 20% down payment, if a loan defaults, the PMI claim gets filed first upon foreclosure. Then when the property gets marketed and resold, there's still a loss, right, between the PMI payment, the recovery on the sale, then a pool premium, claim gets filed with us and we make the agency whole.
Right. Great. It's another form of self-insurance.
Yep.
But also required because to keep our borrowing costs lower. But if we didn't have it, we'd be spending more.
Lower rating.
Yeah, exactly. We'd have a higher rating.
What about profits instead of losses?
It's a
It
great,
doesn't happen.
it's a very clever.
Well, in the old days, like 10, 15 years ago, there were hardly ever any claims on the pool policy because you picked it up through the sale of a home and the PMI. Now you have seen.
Well, for a long time, we did get claims every year, but it was maybe $1 million or $1.5 million a year. After the financial crisis, for many years, we were paying up to $10 million a year. But all those loans have gone through the foreclosure process now, and delinquencies are back down to like a little over 3% total for the Sunny Mae program. And so we're back down to about maybe $2 million a year in pool claims.
Again, it's Sunny Mae insuring itself.
Yes.
Well,
keeping it
yeah, yes and no. I mean, it's really not self-insurance because
They do sometimes too.
Department of Financial Services, one year, were saying we were self-insuring too many loans. And we said, well, we're not self-insuring. The mortgage insurance fund, we get our main revenue sources from a portion of the mortgage recording tax.
MRT.
Sunny Mae sells bonds, they're totally separate funds. They never intermingle. They're rated separately, right? Moody's rates the MIF's ability to pay claims separately from the Sunny Mae bonds. So we really are.
But it's the same board though.
It is, but we're really two separate entities, right? Functioning as partners together.
And insuring two different parts of.
Two risks.
Well, yeah, I mean, the primary function of the MIF and then the secondary, call it pool insurance that we're providing back to Sunny Mae.
But it's interesting that the Sunny Mae board, right, manages both this insurance company and the entity that the insurance company services.
It's financed by, yeah.
And so, you're seeing, but they're seeing both sides. So to the board, it is the same. Except to us, we know that they're different, managed differently, run differently. Ruth Ann runs both, but you have Mike Friedman on one end.
Yeah.
Even the project insurance and the single family insurance are rated separately by Moody's.
Separate, yeah.
It's two separate accounts.
That's a huge distinction.
We waited to the end of the meeting to have this discussion.
It's really interesting. Mike, thank you very much.
One of the more interesting things we've done today.
I think let's make this real.
I'm tired.
Let's give them another what, $350 million? Is that what we-
350.
Worth every penny. Now before the Senate report, the State of New York Mortgage Agency approving extension and increase of insurance policy for the Sunny Mae single family program. The first and second previously entered, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
Thank you.
There being no further business, Sunny Mae Board, Diana will now ask for motions, please, and seconds to adjourn the Sunny Mae meeting.
Assuming first and second previously entered for Sunny Mae, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is
Aye.
carried, and the Sunny Mae meeting is adjourned. Happy holidays and a wonderful new year.
Thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Diana, thank
Same
you,
to you.
Ruth Ann, everybody, happy holidays, and I note that I can still say good morning, because we got 10 minutes left in the morning.
But it's-
Bye, everybody. Bye, B.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Good luck in your
Happy
meeting.
holidays.
You're spending a lot of time on your state service today. Now you've got the meeting with ESD this afternoon. Hope that goes well.
So do I.
Bye. Take care.
It's strange that Freeman, James and
And
Wallace.
they not,
Freeman, you're here, Freeman's good now.
Well, he didn't reply, but I